Hey, what's up, everyone? Normal America Show, host robnoerr, night shift. Boy, oh boys, night shift have their work cut out for them. Day shift was either really good or really bad. Whatever motivates you more, it doesn't matter. It's been a good day. I love my wife. I think she's the best. I really do. However, I'll let you in on a little secret. Um, Sometimes I like it when she leaves the house. And the reason is because then dad gets to be the cool parent. I get to be cool guy dad. It was fantastic. My son's still at the age where mom is everything, right? Like, I'm like a side character to my son. He likes me, but like when the chips are down, he needs mom. So if he has a scary dream, he needs mom. If he gets a boo boo, he needs mom. Dad's just like sort of the fun friend guy. I'm trying. I'm trying. But when mom leaves, mom had a parent teacher uh, association meeting today. And so, which by the way, she loves. So then it got to be Team Dad and Hank. We did all kinds of fun stuff. We did crafts. He really likes gourds, like the little vegetable thing. So every year in like fall, we buy a bunch of gourds for decoration. So I think he has like 24 of them now, and he keeps them in a little duffel bag. So we play all kinds of games with gourds, and it really does blow my mind just how interesting he is to watch do things. Like, he's so smart at coming up with things. So we're playing all these games with gourds. Like, we take turns picking them, and then we each have a lineup of gourds. And he's like, let's play gourd battles. And we just use our imagination and fight them. And then whatever his would win 90% of the time. Then once in a while, he'll feel bad for me, and he'll pick one of the gourds that was like his last pick and leave me win. But I was like, well, let's try different games. Let's each pick up a gourd, and then we'll come up with a way to evaluate them. Like, who has the greenest gourd? You know? And he quickly realized that if he got to choose the criteria, he could win every time. So I would pick my gourd up and he would pick his gourd up. Then he would think, what's a category that his gourd's better than mine? So which gourd's the smoothest? Which gourd's the tallest? Which gourd's the heaviest? Like, which gourd looks the most like a ball? It was awesome to watch him just sort of process. Now, of course, he's sort of cheating to win, but nonetheless, very good. Was very much a fan of playing some gourd games with my son today. So it was a lot of fun. It really was. Now he starts to get ready for bed around 8:30, and usually he's in bed by 9. So I came upstairs because I'm too rambunctious. I keep him up. So I came upstairs around 8:30 and all that good stuff. But man, it was a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun with my son tonight. Good stuff. Also, it was picture day at school, and apparently he had a lot of fun taking pictures. And it was kind of like show and tell. Everyone brought in pictures of their pets. So he took in a picture of our dog Dorothy. He didn't take in a picture of any of the spiders up here, just Dorothy. But it was interesting because he was talking about some of the other kids' pets. Uh, what did he say? The one kid has 2 pet chickens named Gobbles and Chuckles. The one girl had a pet horse. He was pleased with that. And there was a bunch of people with pet dogs and pet cats and hamsters and goldfish, and someone, I think he said someone had a bird. So I mean, it was a good day. I always love. I don't know what it was. Just something in the air today. I was just in a very good mood. So, anyways, good day. I don't know what to do with the show tonight. I have a lot of stories about left wing violence to talk about, but I thought also maybe I would do some call ins. We're also going to grift heavy this evening, so this will be a making sure that I'm playing every single whip song at night. Oh boy, we already got one. I see that came in. So, as always, the first 2.5 to 3 hours will be a little sparse on them, but I'll save them all and I'll make sure we play them come the end of the evening, and we'll stay up late. So, should be a fun night. Setting up some more debates with y'all. for you all, not with you all, or with you, whatever. But we may take some call-ins here this evening. I think it would be nice to do that once a week, as I was saying, to just leave people that don't have the opportunity to call in during the day show. I am drinking straight chaser, just water with energy drink powder in it, and then the rest, I only drink one of those, and then I drink water the rest of the night. So, anyways, I'll get the call-in number out there. So, it should be a good show. I'm looking forward to it. Some little things to talk about. First off, Brimstone, you said Jake's debate. I assume Jake's dominating that debate. If I remember, the debate was going to be on left-wing versus right-wing violence. Brimstone says that Jake's opponent didn't even prepare for the debate prompt. Interesting. I think Jake's really improved as a debater. I think he does a tremendous job. So he's got that going for him, which is nice. Yeah, October 28th, 20 days, I'm supposed to be doing a debate on that very topic, on modern day debate. Also, I'll check real quick. Oh, yeah, I have a modern day debate next Tuesday on DEI hires. Me and Alex Stein versus two opponents. I don't know who. But that's next Tuesday. Yeah, good. Jake's crushing it. That's awesome. I knew he would. Yes, I really like Alex Stein. I always enjoy debating. So I got to be good as Alex's partner. Got to make Alex look good. But Alex has always been very nice to me behind the scenes. Will I review that debate? Sure. Maybe I'll do that tomorrow night. I'll review the Jake Brent is the person he's debating against. Sure. Maybe I'll review that tomorrow evening. That could be a fun show to do. I'm always looking for debates to review. I enjoy reviewing debates, but I never know who's debating, and I don't want to just do, panel debates and things like that all the time. Good call-in show today, though. I thought it went very well. Before I get to the super chats and start into the show, though, I think that it's worth saying that I've reflected on the debate I had here the other night, and I think I'm going to make some changes. How do I put this? I'm not going to do open panels anymore. It's too much of a shit show. I'm just not interested. I think that perhaps I'm one of the only people that treat the open debate panel like still having some decorum of debate. I don't mind personal insults and shit like that. That's fine. But I think that maybe I have the wrong idea after having talked to some people. I think perhaps the idea is other people have that the open debate panel's like 8 friends sitting around talking about irrelevant stuff, and it's just like to have fun, and that means that it doesn't matter if someone just spurgs out and talks over you the whole time, just like if you were at a party, no one really gives a shit, and that's fine. Some people like that format, and that's perfectly fine. For me, it's a waste of time. I don't have the time of day for that. I'm all about having fun. I don't mind personal jabs and insults, totally fair. But if it's going to just be who could talk over the other person the most, and that's okay because that's what we think's fun, more power to everyone doing that. No hard feelings, but I'm done with it. So I only bring it up here to say the next time, because I know this will happen. Oh, Rob, did you see so-and-so's having an open panel and so-and-so's on there? Will you go on and debate them right now? The answer is no. It does not matter who that person is. I am not doing that anymore. Um, I put the open panels on notice. Now, if it's not an open panel, if it's like someone invites me to a panel, that's different. I think that there's sort of an understanding that it's still a debate, but that's that. So, I anybody who does the open panel format, whether it be Sarah, I think Prime K's used to do it, Grid does it. Uh, Speakeasy's a little different. The way he does it's a little different, so I would still be okay with that. Uh, but I don't wish any hard feelings on them, and I wish nothing but the best, particularly for Sarah and Grid and the other right wingers that are in this space. I just don't know that what I'm trying to do jives with that. It really is beneath me. It really is. Again, I don't mind. I'll debate an unserious topic. I'm all about having fun. Personal jabs and insults don't bother me whatsoever. Uh, Maybe, I don't know, maybe I come across, I guess I'll ask you all based on some feedback that I've gotten. Uh, Maybe I look like I'm taking insults too harsh. Uh, I don't know. I don't feel that way. Like if someone's like, "Oh, you're a fat piece of shit. You're sensitive," and I'm like, "Hey, go fuck yourself." Blah blah blah. Maybe that comes across as that I'm overly sensitive because I'm pushing back. I don't feel that way. I can honestly say, with anyone that I've interacted with recently, none of it stuck as like no one said anything that I thought was beyond the pale to me. I mean, Connor threatening to kick my ass is fucking silly, but like, no one's insulted my fucking family or said anything that I thought was too personal or any of bullshit like that. So someone wants to be like, you're a fat fuck, you're gay, you're this, that. Don't bother me. Maybe it seems like it bothers me. I don't know, but it doesn't. Um, the the things that bother me are more of like, dude, let me fucking finish my sentence without spurting out and interrupted. Or when someone's like, I just refuse to engage with you. I'm not going to answer questions. That shit annoys the shit out of me. But that's not from a like, the people that would do that to me, I'm not like, fuck this person. They're a scumbag. I'm just like, I have no, then I don't want to talk to you. Like, that's it. That's all. I just am like, what's the point of being here? Like, if I'm on an open panel and the people are like, yeah, we're not going to respond to anything you say or answer any questions or interact with you. Okay. Why am I here? That's perfectly fine. Uh, that annoys the shit out of me. But just because it's like, I don't understand the point of me being here, I'm just going to go. And that's fine. Like, no one's entitled to be on a place. If I join an open panel and the other 7 people are like, oh, it's robnoerr, we're just going to ignore them. They're not doing anything wrong from the sense of um, morally or anything. It's just they don't want to interact with me. But there's no need for me to be there. That's all I'm saying. So, Toasted, I don't have a problem with that. So I only bring it up to say this just because my audience asked me, and I'm trying to I do try to get audience feedback. I really do. And I know a lot of different people in the audience want different things. Some people like the call in shows. Some people like the debates. Some people like the debate reviews. Some people don't like any of that stuff. Some people like when I go in the panels. Other people hate it. So I just wanted to let everyone know that that's going to be, for at least going forward for a while, sort of my intent, that I don't really plan on doing the open panel. I would still be interested in doing a debate. And then once it becomes open panel, I'm going to be like, I tip my cap. I'm out of here. I just, oh yeah, what's up, Marte? Yeah. So we'll put the call-in number out there. So read the couple. We only have 2 super chats so far, but they're big ones. Blasterbot, $50. Thank you so much, man. Says Chindosaurus was found in Arizona, not China. Surprisingly, based on the name. Only one skeleton's been found with enough remains to identify it with certainty. Its name is Gertie. Maybe do a review of Jake's modern day debate after it's done. He's winning. Is that where it was at, modern day debate? Excellent. I knew Jake would win. Naughty Germ, $5. Thank you so much, man. Really appreciate it. Always appreciate it. I'll probably review Jake's debate tomorrow. So, yeah, I agree, old Joe. That's how I feel as well. And I know the last time it was Connor was on there, people were like, go in the panel, go in the panel. And I was like, you understand that it sort of puts me on a lower tier going, you know, but that's it. It's no hard feelings to any of those moderators or even any of the people on those panels. It's sort of me coming, especially a lot of those open panels. The last thing I'll say about this, then I will take calls. A lot of it's like a community that's pre-built, right? So it'll be the same 8 to 12 people that are on those panels every time. So someone like me that just pops in once in a while, who the fuck am I to say, well, you have to change for my preferences? They like what they're doing. There's no problem at all with that. That's perfectly reasonable. From my perspective, I'm like, what the fuck is this bullshit? People just constantly interrupting me. But if that's the game and that's how it's played, and it's just like, no, we like the interruptions. We think it's fun. That's part of the game. Who could interrupt their opponent the most? And that's what makes it funsies. That's fine. That's not a game that I'm going to entertain. I'm just like, oh, it's not for me. That's all. So there's no hard feelings between me or anyone that's hosting those panels or doing those panels. Completely. So if I do the debates anymore and there's open panels afterwards, I'm just gonna be like, I'll stay for the 2 hours debate or whatever, but that's it. No open panel for me. Lesson Cell, $5. Thank you. Says, I went to sleep yesterday wondering if the person that called in last night was Connor's brother. Any updates? I'm pretty sure it is based on some things that have been sent to me. But I don't really, all I have to say about the whole situation is, regardless of my thoughts on Connor, I wish him and his family the best. And I hope that whether it be his brother, other people in his family can mend whatever disagreements they have that stems from politics. That's literally all I have to say about it. So I wish them the best. Tegooch, $20, says, for the grift, not one step back. In those open panels, they aren't in good faith. And Sarah sucks as a moderator. It depends on your definition of moderator. I sound like Bill Clinton. It depends on what your definition of is. What I mean by that is it depends on what your goal is and what you're trying to get out of it. You know, if you want to see a shit show and that's what the audience thinks fun, I think she keeps a positive attitude and, you know, but for me, it's someone who's interested in hearing what someone says and then responding, which is for me, not just debate, but sort of a precursor to any worthwhile conversation. I could hear you and you could hear me. I don't particularly fancy that style of panel. And so if the goal is, hey, I like to just let people interrupt because that's what my audience likes to see, and then the audience, if they get pissed off, can boot someone out with their money, that's fine. That's no problem. So you tried looking up the country version of Where There's a Whip Away. You couldn't find it. I wonder why. All right, linked. Here we go. I'll put the link out. If no one wants to call in, that's fine too. Why does this keep doing that? right, here we go. Anybody who wants to call in, we're doing a special nighttime call in. Now, night shift. Now that we got that shit out of the way, done talking about it. No, I wanted to put that here. There's the call-in number. So anyone who wants to call in, feel free. I'll pin that to the top of my YouTube. We also have some stories to talk about left-wing violence. There was shit that was going on in New York last night, shit that was in Boston. A lot of that had to do with like the pro-Palestinian crowd. The October 7th, came and went. In addition to that, we had more details came about the person that had all these explosives outside the church where the Supreme Court justices were going to mass. And of course, there was a bunch of stories that we could delve further into. Nick Sorter, I sort of talked about that a little Monday, Tuesday. Kavanaugh as would-be assassin, and some other stories. So we can get in all that. Now, we do have a call. What I will need from you all, I need you guys to crush day shift. They're getting big for their britches. They're still riding on this. Oh, that one day the chair streamed and we broke the goal. Night shift never did that. And blah, 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 blah. So they didn't reach their goal today on day shift. So if night shift just really turns the screws tonight, so consider sending in money, just if nothing else, even if you hate me, just to spite day shift. And not just day shift, but also day shift me. Yes, there you go. Watch Jake on the TV and me on the phone. There you go. Loving it. So let's do it. So, all right, we got 2 callers in. That's good. I didn't know if there'd be people interested in calling in. So let's take some calls tonight. Whatever you guys want to talk about. I'll only say this once at the top of this. All callers, even if you're familiar with the channel, please keep it terms of service, no calls to violence, anything that's outside the scope of terms of service. That means no slurs, whether they be racial, referring to sexual orientation, or any other types of slurs that get in trouble on YouTube or any of the other platforms that I'm on. As far as topics go, whatever you want to talk about is fine by me. If we get a bunch of calls, we'll probably usher it on quicker than if there aren't a lot of calls. Maybe I'll have an interesting conversation and we'll talk for an hour. So, all right. First up, we have my debate partner the other night, Marte. How you doing today, man?
How's it going, man? I'm doing swell. How are you?
Good. I like your background there. It's looking good.
It's not too bad. I'm barely getting set up, so I don't even have a shift, a night shift or anything. Barely getting started up, but I'm glad that you're online right now because I just wrapped up an hour-long segment of Brian Johnson, Chicago's mayor right now. The issue that I have right now is he's blaming Trump for fomenting violence when really that's not the case that's going on right now. I do have a question right now because he's not allowing law enforcement to protect our ICE agents in their city, and he's allowing them to face damage. And then he's now making this a racial issue, saying that because of the foundational blacks that are in the city, you guys should really support me because Trump is coming in to cause destruction for you guys and cause bigger chaos for you, when really he's coming in to provide safety and to let ICE do their jobs. And really, this is creating such a divide that it's almost tantamount to some type of civil war. Do you think that this is really something that's spreading? Because I know Gavin Newsom isn't really helping out at all. He's refusing as well, too, fighting tooth and nail. And now you have Brian Johnson in Chicago not helping out at all. This is almost tantamount to treasonous action, I think, too, not supporting ICE. We're starting to see this. Do you think that this will be something that will grow stronger in time or decrease?
Well, so let's start with Johnson. So Johnson, Brandon, I think his first name, is the mayor of Chicago.
Brandon
Johnson.
Yeah,
this guy is just as big of a race hustler as you'll ever see. He's been terrible for the city of Chicago, but what he could count on is just saying, but it's all the white man's fault. It's all Trump's fault. It's all Republicans' fault. And so as he does nothing and there's corruption in the city, and the economy of the city struggling, and crime in the city struggling, and his polling numbers were going down, he's going to go back to what he knows. And what he knows is blaming evil white Republicans. That's it. And so for him, this is a way that he could get the national spotlight on him. He's able to be like, I am a martyr. I'm willing to sacrifice. If I go to prison because of Trump, but I won't leave ICE in here. They're the Gestapo. They're kidnapping
Exactly.
people. And then he does make it, he makes it racial specifically to blacks. And it's like, they're rounding up illegals and next it'll be vanfuls of black people.
Yes.
And, that's sort of, now we remember that in Chicago, we just had two incidents the other day. One of them I've yet to see a lot about. That was the video that we saw, though, where there was an actual ICE vehicle, it looks like, and you had someone ram it and was attempting to run it off the road.
Yes.
There's video of that. Now, the other one is the one that was more serious that was talked about was when ICE actually deployed their firearms. And what happened there was you had a group of cars that surrounded one particular ICE vehicle, and there was a woman in the passenger vehicle who'd been riling up sort of anger against ICE, and she had a firearm. So law enforcement, anytime you're using first off, just to be clear, I'm no lawyer, but I'm 95% this is likely the case. If you're intentionally smashing someone's vehicle with your vehicle, I believe that's like kind of attempted murder or assault with a deadly. It can be.
I
right?
was in law enforcement for 13 years. And that's the thing, though, is as an agent myself prior, you're wielding 1,000-pound weapon at your disposal. So I think that, yes, you're harming lives and also civilians, too, as well, too. This is why we have so many different policies as far as like speed chases, things that we can do. So you also want to mitigate damage and limit this. The problem with this is that I also have is that because police weren't helping out or aiding, you're also creating more violence because now the city's almost feeling like they have no assistance at all. He's literally, I think, artificially creating this racial divide because he's saying, well, the police aren't going to help because we can't intervene because we can't get in front of ICE help. Like, so he's creating this artificial racial divide by saying that, hey, there's nobody to help you out. I am your savior. And he's creating this issue. That woman, by the way, went to the hospital with gunshot wounds as well, too. And the other issue that we have is ICE can't perform their duties at all. So now we have like kind of a standoff of sorts. And the police, Superintendent Snell, I think his name is also declining to help as well, too. He's really using slick language. So in one side of his mouth, he says something like, hey, if they're boxed in by cars, I trust them to do what they do, while with a smirk on his face because you're not doing anything to assist either. It's hand in hand. He's working with and
it's a dangerous game, like, because like I remind you, this meets what the left's definition of insurrection was that I debated over and over again. It is people gathering for a singular reason, right? So they're all there for the same reason against ICE to prevent execution of a law or something like that. That's clearly what they're doing, going after ICE for deporting people, using violence or intimidation. I mean, the attacks on ICE, the shoving, the yelling, the screaming, the spitting, that's all attacks and intimidation. Certainly ramming people with your car and for a public purpose to change the law. This meets the definition. Now, they tried to remove Trump from the ballot because he said fight like hell. And they're like, that's him engaging in an insurrection. Meanwhile, we have police officers, people in the chain of command police, basically telling the police to stand down in Chicago from helping ICE as they're being attacked. Then you have Pritzker, who is the governor, saying like, oh, it's blown out of proportion. No big deal. ICE isn't really being attacked like this. Then you have the mayor saying, we're not going to even allow ICE in here. And like, basically people need to resist them. This is literal. If this is considered an insurrection based on the definition that the Colorado court tried to use to keep Trump off the ballot, this would definitely be politicians, the mayor, the governor, engaging in an insurrection. And yet none of them give a shit. No one on the left cares. The Democrat. So to answer your original question, so Johnson, certainly, he is an untalented politician. Believe it or not, Gavin Newsom's much more talented than someone like Johnson. Johnson has one card. That's racial grievance. That's it.
Yes.
Incredibly untalented, incredibly just a buffoon with a chip on his shoulder, but that shit flies, right? Particularly in areas that are heavily Democrat, that are heavily minority. They're going to buy that. And this is one of the reasons that Trump's been such a boon for the left, because they've sort of built their entire Democratic Party on this sort of fractured identity politics that doesn't make sense the more you think about it. Like, why would the party of Islam also be the party of LGBTQ? It makes no sense, right? Like,
Right.
why would traditional feminists be in a party with trans people? It doesn't make sense, right? And there's a lot of Black Americans are actually socially very conservative. In fact, if you remember, the reason that, what was it, Prop 19 or whatever, the first sort of gay marriage suggestion on the ballot in California, the reason it failed was because blacks voted against it by like 92%.
Yeah, they
Like,
fought it. I
they
remember that.
don't, black folks don't, by and large, the numbers of acceptance of LGBT issues are less in the black community. And there's an awful lot of black people that are very Christian, that are very spiritual. And so you're like, well, why is it that there's such a coalition of blacks with the Democratic Party? And there's a lot of reason that I could go through with this. It's starting to change a little. Trump cut into that more than most Republicans. Nonetheless, it's easy to pander and it's easy to say you're a victim, that everything's racist, it's out to get you. And so now we can see how these mayors like Johnson in these Democrat controlled cities where Democrats have controlled them for years and years, when things are getting worse or they're not getting better or whatever, it's like, but it's that boogeyman. It's because of the federal government. It's because of white racists elsewhere. It's all their fault. That's what Johnson's doing.
By his own hand.
Newsom,
it's an artificial construct that he's creating, because here's the thing though, in one side of his mouth he'll say something like, hey, Trump's denying resources because we had this redlining issue that's happening right now, but in the other side of his mouth we can see that he's saying, well, no, I don't want Texas to send resources here as well too, and I don't want ICE to come in here and do their job. Well, that's the thing though, is like, you're complaining about redlining when really the other day they had a lady hit in the head. I think she hit her head on the concrete and was taken advantage of. I don't want to say the R word here, but we all know what that is. And it's like, you don't want to complain about this when a reporter the other day was saying, hey, Brandon Johnson, this lady was hit in the head and taken advantage of by a grown man who was an illegal immigrant on the side of the road. Aren't you going to contend with this? What if this was your mother or something? And he really deflected out of this and didn't want to answer this. And in the same breath, he mentioned resources for redlining. Well, we all know where his priorities are. And right now he's a political buffoon when we talk about his position in his mayoral office. It's ridiculous.
I'll say this. I think that even though it's sort of an 80-20 issue, the Democrats have nothing. Their lessons, if you looked after the election, so we're damn near a year in, 11 months out of the election. And what was the diagnosis? And what the left said, okay, we lost. Why? And when you watched them, it was just like, because racism. That's why. Because racism. And it's like, they didn't seriously sit down and go like, okay, where are we losing people? Right? Some of them tried. But the problem is, the most vocal portion of the base is so radical on so many issues at this point that if you want to be more of a centrist like Democrat and be like, look, okay, let's steer this ship back into a little more sensible so that we could try to be a little more mainstream and win elections, you're going to get attacked.
You're going to get exiled.
Even people like Cenk Uygur. Now, I watched clips from the Young Turks where Cenk's like, listen, maybe it's time to cut back on this trans shit. Like, you know what? Maybe we shouldn't have biological. And they're like flipping out. How dare you? How dare you say that? Like, we're just going to leave these people suffer. This is the civil rights movement of our time. And illegal immigration's like that as well. Now, with this particular issue, it's basically an 80-20 issue in the sense that people wanted the border secure. Now, it's a little less popular than that, but I still think the majority of people want mass deportations. What that means, though, is very different to huge swaths of people. And so this is the issue. The Democrats need these illegals. They need them. They fully intend to eventually give them voting rights. They need them for the census so that they get more seats in Congress. They need them to be potential voters because they know that their policies are shit. And so they have to fight tooth and nail to keep these people, which means they have to be against Trump. And they don't know what else to do than to play the Trump's an evil dictator racist game. And so I'm not surprised to see Johnson say it. I'm not surprised to hear any of the Dems say it. But the fact that Gavin Newsom is playing that game lets you know more where the main thrust of the Democratic Party is. Newsom is probably at this point the front runner for a possible Democratic candidate for president in 2028. And so to see him and the pushback on ICE that they have, that really lets you know where the Democrat. And the other thing is Newsom, unlike Johnson, Newsom's very much listening to the focus groups, trying to make slight adjustments. He's trying to make himself, even on the trans issues, he's trying to rewrite history like, hey, I'm just the meme guy. This was a dude who proposed a law in California to make it illegal for people to use like photoshops of you and AIs of you. Now his Twitter is doing that constantly, right? So he's
Correct.
trying to
Yeah.
come up. It's like, hey, I'm just this hip, cool guy. I'm not uptight like these, you know, Republicans, blah, blah, blah. And so for me, I think it is going to get worse. I think that you are going to see a crescendo building. And ultimately, what the Democrats are hoping happens is that there is a bad altercation between ICE and between someone. They want an ICE officer to have a bad shoot. Then they could rally and say, that'll be their George Floyd. You see, look at what Donald Trump's Gestapo did. They shot down an innocent man in the street. Never mind that we see the mass attacks against ICE almost on a daily basis now that they're basically silent about. They know that the law of averages are if you demonize this group of law enforcement, if you allow attacks on them with basic impunity in all of these places like Portland, Seattle, Chicago, you know, LA, etc., eventually the law of averages will be with that many violent interactions, people will do fucked up shit on both sides. And that's what they're waiting for. They're waiting for something that they could latch onto. And when it happens, you're going to see a national movement of even more centrist Democrats saying, enough's enough. We must, ICE is the enemy. We now have to face them as an enemy.
I do see a shift in America right now that's happening in Black culture right now, as far as like our conservative Blacks, and that's happening. And there's like kind of almost like I wouldn't say grassroots at all, but I'm starting to see a cultural shift that's happening right now in social shifting groups, and especially the circles that I'm even in. So if you look at minority communities, they're sick of illegal immigrants being in these communities, and they're really tired of this, and they're vocalized about this on social media. You could see this all over Twitter and everywhere else, and they're really outspoken about this. Mind you, back to Brandon Johnson, by the way, we can also see this, and this is kind of like mild pushback, but not really pushback at all. The problem with this is though the guy's had a less than 10% approval rating, and it's funny because ironically, he was pro defund the police, but now when it comes to police, you couldn't foresee this happening as a citizen. So I actually blame the stupid people of Chicago, some of the people of Chicago too, because he had been voted in, but how? Less than 10%. So it's like we can.
What you see is
it's crazy.
This is what happens when you see districts where there's zero chance of the other party winning.
Yeah.
Right? Normally, the way in general, this is a gross oversimplification, but this is generally the rule. If you're in a district where you know that you're going to easily win, or I'm sorry, let me leave. In your primaries, right, you're becoming more to the fringe, and in the general, you come more to the center. And the reason for that, think of a presidential election, the country's roughly 50-50. And so in order to win your primary, your base is going to want someone who's staunchly liberal or staunchly conservative. So you make yourself sound very staunchly conservative or liberal. But then that could be too extreme for the general election, and now the centrist that you're going to have to get. So you sort of claw your way back. Well, what happens when you don't have to claw your way back? What happens where it's like whoever wins the Democratic primary 100% guaranteed to win the election? Like, well, you get people like Johnson, right? And so you just run the most extreme person. And in a city like Chicago, what's that? It's racial politics. Whoever has the best racial politics. Now, it doesn't matter that you get in there and everyone hates you. You just drum up some scandal. Racisms. See? It doesn't matter that objectively my policies are shit, that crime's not getting any better, that the economy's not getting... It doesn't matter because it's racism. And so, yeah, I mean, I'll give you the final word on it. But yeah, I think it's a great topic, and you're right. Like, it's going to get worse, and I do predict that there's eventually going to be a violent altercation, and that's going to be a flashpoint, and we're going to see some more George Floyd type shit. That's what I think is going to occur.
So I'll wrap this up real quick because I know you got another person waiting. So, I mean, it almost sounds like the debate that we had together the other night where I asked if you know, he had not passed away, would he have as much influence as... So that's the thing, though, is like, I'll tell it. And so if you think about it, if you talk about the flashpoint and the bubbling over of society when it comes to racial propagandization by Brandon Johnson, he's literally uttering that right now. But I do believe that there's kind of an overcorrection of this to the point to where people are starting to get tired of this, and this race card is starting to die. You got to come up with new material, and Black people are not buying this anymore as a culture. But I'll leave that there. I appreciate you having me on. Thanks. Always good to see you, Rob.
Yeah, Marte, it's always a pleasure, man. I appreciate it. We'll talk soon. You have a good one, man. Yeah, good call. Let's read some more super chats. Listen, day shift was so off today, so night shift, you really got to stick it to them. Susan Griffith. $2 says, Rob, I hate you. I don't, but you got to mix it up. Yeah, see, that's fine. I'm a good heel. I can handle that. Brock Van Wagner, $2 says, for the honor of day shift. Oh, shit. Here I am talking trash. Kokomo, $10. Thank you so much as always, sir. The great Jonathan Thorpe, $5 says, I identify as two-spirit. I am both day and night shift. Nice. It's good to see that we got some of the plus here. Plenty of LGBTQIAs, but it's nice to see a plus once in a while. We appreciate it. Susan Griffith, $2 says, Gavin Newsom is made of garbage. Shiny, hair slick back garbage. Meat pill. My contribution for the night, and remember to check for that doc on X. You said you were busy. It's easy to forget. I don't think it'll be useful. I do think it'll be useful to you. Yeah, I'll check it out. Thank you so much, Meat pill, and thank you for the $5. Really appreciate it. Vita, $5 says, I don't even know what shift I'm in. Can I just be shitty centric? Our good friend Jess Gerald. Always great to hear from you, man. 11 months, says almost a year, Rob. For almost a full year, I've been locked in. For almost a year, I've been supporting Normal America with Rob's chair. Sorry to be in the way here tonight. I do apologize. And then Susan Griffith, $5 says, Gavin Newsom's the worst possible option for president. Speaking as a Californian, he's got a lot of qualities that'll make him very attractive. One, he's sort of an attractive man. And unfortunately, that matters in our political system. He's well-spoken. He doesn't have any convictions. He's a complete open book and will say whatever it takes to get elected. That's a positive. And he's going to have a lot of people backing him, a lot of money. So, I mean, he's certainly more palpable than a Kamala Harris for like average people around the country. And right now, he's the front runner. There are other people, like I think Pete Buttigieg is smarter than him and a better speaker, but he's gay. Ask Kamala how that went. That's not good for the black community. So that's a risk, right? Then, of course, you could always go with like sort of an outside celebrity type person like a Jon Stewart or a Mark Cuban. Those are always options. But as far as in the political sphere right now, I think that Gavin Newsom has to be the most high profile person that if the nomination, if the primary was next week, I think he'd be the front runner. But it's a long ways away. It really is. And anything could happen by then. I certainly wouldn't put money on Gavin Newsom. I would take the field every day over Gavin Newsom. So, all right, next up. Oh, only Mr. Bill, $2 says 15 to 20 protesters at PDS ICE. Police presence there. Of course. Once more. Well, all right. Next, we got our friend Joe. He used to be Old Joe. Now he's just Joe. Oh, and then his avatar says Old Joe. So they're the best of both worlds. What's happening tonight, Old Joe?
Not much. How about you, sir?
Having a good night. Can't complain at all.
What I would like to do, if you wouldn't mind, I don't have much time and might get cut off, but I would like to address the decision that you've made about panel discussions if possible.
Sure.
You're okay with that? And I will be less, as a non-content creator, I will be less generous than you have been.
Can I cut you off real quick just to say something real fast? On Rumble, were you offended? We're offended. You're offended. Thank you so much for rating the stream. I really appreciate it. I'm so sorry, Old Joe, to cut you off, but I just wanted to say that real quick. So
no problem at all. You get Rumble raids as well. That's
yeah,
awesome.
it's nice. Yeah, Rumble's where it's at, man. Yeah.
So I will say this: I became exposed to the Panelverse about a year and a half ago, maybe around that time. And at first it seemed rather interesting, but then I saw that it descended into exactly what you pointed to in terms of discussion. And I had to ask myself, what is it that I am seeking when I watch two people engaged in dialectic, engaged in a debate? And my answer is that I like to see our intellectual giants, I would call them, pursue objective truth. I like to see ideas tested against one another, even if there are certain debate techniques used that may be strategic in nature. They still allow a person to test an argument. And if you have two people engaged in an exchange of ideas and the host says, but for $50 you can shut one of them down, well, then you're not selling debate anymore, you're selling smut. And it gets even worse than that in that Panelverse. So I'm here to speak out in support of your decision. I think it's time to move past that kind of garbage where you get brigading and people that are seeking something else other than knowledge. So thank you, sir. I think it's a good idea, and that's all I have to say.
Thanks, old Joe. I appreciate it. Now, I'll push back just the slightest by saying this that it's perfectly fine sometimes to just do stuff like empty calories. Like, it's fine to go on. Like, for example, if I was doing a panel and it was like, what's better, DC or Marvel? I mean, yeah, there's going to be chirping back and forth, and you say, boot this person. It's sort of funsies. It's not really a productive debate. You could have a much more productive debate, like a 2-on-2 with actually a structured debate, making arguments, not being able to boot people. But the idea of booting people for money, although I understand the problem, I get that people are trying to make money, so I don't necessarily have a problem with that. But it already gears towards not a serious endeavor. I think, though, that it really does lay the groundwork for the problems that I have going forth from that, though, which is it's almost encouraged to be, I don't know what word to use other than a pest. Right? It's one thing for someone to be like, you fat fuck, here's why your argument's stupid. I don't mind that. And you can see the difference in Marte and I's debate the other day. They start with Marte right out of the gate, making jokes about baby oil because he was a bodybuilder. That's fine. They call me fat or whatever. That's fine too. I don't mind that. And I'm like, making fun of them. But it's a productive debate. We're throwing little jabs in for entertainment reasons and because, it doesn't really bother us. But we're staying on subject. There was very little moderation needed. Like, we're taking our turn. We're letting the other people speak. It went quite well. I enjoyed it thoroughly. To me, that's a good example of sort of what I expect in most debates I do. It could get a little chippy, but people walk away, no hard feelings. Even if there's some shallow insults thrown, no problem. They were making fun of Andrew Wilson the whole time. Can't open olive jars. Ortho bros this, ortho bros that. Didn't bother me in the least bit. And I enjoyed that. Walk away. I thought that we did very well. Our side did very well in the debate. The other side seemed to have fun and think they did well. Great. Awesome. Hope the audience enjoyed it. Now, I thought the topic was a little silly, but that's okay. Then once the open panel starts, there's all sorts of problems that come with it. The very first thing is this. It's oftentimes heavily skewed. So the nature of being able to kick people, this is what'll happen. Let's say that there's 7 people on there that are right-wingers, and then there's one left-winger, like Duck or Radical Coder or someone like that, and they'll get booted. And then it's like you're sitting there with nothing to say. Like, nothing's really being talked about a lot. Or it'll be that all the vocal people are on the left, which is fine from my perspective. I'll argue with them. But what do you do when those people decide, like, well, I'm just not going to engage with you. I'm just not going to answer questions. I'm just going to interrupt the whole time. And to me, I think that it's been made clear to me by people that are sort of in that, into that, I guess. I'm trying to choose my words carefully. People that are interested in that style of open panel, which is perfectly fine. I'm not belittling anyone. I used to watch professional wrestling quite frequently. So I've watched Jerry Springer in the past. I've watched Maury Povich and Steve Wilkos. So I'm well aware of just watching sort of just mind-numbing bullshit. And I'm not making fun of you. My entertainment choices would be quite perplexing to people. I like listening to chess videos while I'm driving. You people would be like, this is the most boring shit I've ever seen. But that's what I'm into. So I don't begrudge anyone the entertainment that they're interested in. But to hear them basically, people in that community tell me like, no, Rob, the interruption is the point. That's the point. That's what's fun. Right? And you're a fool for allowing that to get under your skin. Instead, you should just roll with the punches and let them interrupt. Or interrupt yourself when they try to talk. You do that. That's fun. And I'm like, yeah, that's not fun to me. It's not fun. It's not informational. It is not what I'm looking for. I don't say beneath me and like I'm better than you. I'm saying it's beneath me that it's literally just not worth my time. It's not. It would be no different than like me showing up to like, hey, come with me to owners of like 1969 Chevy Chevelle convention. And it's like, but I don't own one. Yeah, but we're going to talk about how to work on one. Right. But it's just, I could use my time more productively. Like this doesn't apply to me. That's how I feel. I like debating. I like having discussions with people that agree with me or disagree with me. A precursor to all of that is actually being able to hear the other person and have them hear me. And if that's not possible, because it's going to be, but the interruption is the point, then I have no interest. I just,
Well,
to me, that is a deal breaker. I just, nope, no interest whatsoever. So
let me come at it from another perspective, because once again, we're we're talking about a complex concept. There are two recent debates that you've had, both of them on Sarah's panel, that left bad taste in your mouth. One of them was that fellow named Connor. Was that his
yeah,
name?
yeah,
And the other was the latest one with the open panel.
yeah,
Now, for me, I can explain the difference between the two very clearly. One, Connor was somewhat held in check by the host, and in the other, the people that were interrupting were not held in check. Now, having reflected on the Connor debate, I can tell you that the reason to me it was so inspiring, and the reason I think your audience enjoyed it, is because all of us have faced an individual like that in our daily lives, whether it be a boss or a coworker or somebody in our family who is willing to obfuscate and, quite frankly, lie. And watching him get called to task on his association with Destiny was, quite frankly, it was quite. How do I put this? I don't want to be. I don't want to take pleasure in somebody else's discomfort, but I enjoyed watching it because, as I said when I called in before, not all of us can do that.
right.
In the second circumstance with the open panel, you not only had constant interruptions and stated interruptions, but you also had people coming in with super chats that were, insulting. And okay, yes, that can be entertaining. Here's my position on that. This crowd that enjoys that is a very small subset of people
Yeah,
who likely aren't worth your time. And I will
yeah.
say that flat out. And yes, they do enjoy it. And yes, they find it entertaining. And they, in my opinion, they can stay in that small crowd that they're in of 20, 30, 40 viewers on those live streams. And I think you've got bigger places to go myself.
I don't disagree. I don't. And I just want to make it clear that if you're someone who enjoys that, that's watching me right now, I'm not making a moral claim at you. I'm just saying that it is not the type of audience that I'm trying to reach on that type of thing. And I agree with you. I don't know that like for me, if it's like if that was what I was geared to, then instead of like doing preparation or thinking through political issues or whatever the topic is, then instead I would just come here and think of one line insults, right? Like that would be my prep, just like, oh, I'm gonna like, how can I be an insult comic? That'll be it. And like of course, all of that's part of being an entertainer to a slight degree, but when that becomes the main focus, I mean, there's a reason that I was never doing like a lot of the, you know, I'm just going to go on and yell at OnlyFans girls. Now, I think that there's obvious productive conversations you could have, and I think that some people do it very well. Other people, right? Jess Gerald donates $10, says, "Kick old Joe, bring up radical." That's very funny. Thank you so much, Jess Gerald, for the donation. But I don't know. I guess the point I'm trying to make is like, yeah, I do think I don't think it's what I'm trying to do. It'd be like, I guess put it this way, like, could you imagine like Ron DeSantis having a serious debate and then afterwards it's like, okay, now man, stick around for dick jokes and people interrupting you. He'd be like,
Yes.
yeah, dude, what? I'm out of here. Like I don't have the time of day for this. And that's how I feel at this point. As far as keeping Connor in check, Sarah keeping Connor in check, like I think maybe a little better than the people there the other night, but I don't think she did a good job of that either. I think ultimately what happened was he would state his intention to interrupt me, and then he would, and then finally I would get fed up and be like, what the hell's going on? And I would start talking over him, talking over me, and then she would intercede. Now I chalked that up to, well, he's the guest, and I was the person who called in on the panel, and you defer to the guest because they're the person who's giving you their time and who was, did the debate that's supposed to be the central.
Can I pull my one interruption here?
Sure.
This is my one being a hypocrite. I don't think you would have heard Sarah saying to you about Connor, hey, look, he doesn't like being told what to do.
Yep.
So
Yep, that's it. That's exactly the point I was making. So if that's going to be the rules, we defer to like. Then why is it when I'm the guest that it's also like, oh, and by the way, you're going to get interrupted again? I question whether or not like bigger streamers would receive the same treatment. I question whether or not if Andrew Wilson was on there and he was like, shut the fuck up, I'm going to talk, I'll bet he would have got space to talk.
But he did, and that's happened before. And so in any case, I will finish by saying this over talking and yelling that we're seeing on the Panelverse, it's my belief that we're starting to see it more and more in general discourse, in general politics, and I'm not a big fan of that as well. So I think that, if I don't know how we work our way back to a legitimate discussion style, but it sure would be nice.
I don't disagree. Joe, thanks so much for the call. I'll finish up my thoughts here, but it's always a pleasure, man. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Yeah, and it's look, I don't. There is truth to the following statement. When you are bigger, you get deferred treatment. That makes sense. I understand that from a practical sense, and it also just it, it's it's just the way life is, right? Um, let's say I'm doing call-ins right now, and I have a list of people. Yinzer's next, then Geoverse, then Miggy. Right. By the way, the link is at the top of the YouTube channel. So it's you can click that link to call in there on StreamYard. But let's say right now that boop, someone pops on and it's Donald Trump, and I see his face and it's him. I bet he's getting pushed to the front of the line, right? I'll be like, holy shit, Donald Trump. You see what I mean? That's no offense. And I'm assuming all of my callers that are waiting on the line would be like, fuck, of course. Of course. I understand that, right? And so you have to have, and so if you're hosting debates and there's a really big name that comes on and all of a sudden you have thousands of people watching you and you've got thousands of dollars coming in, I don't have a problem saying, yeah, it makes sense that you're giving sort of, not egregious special treatment, but you're like, hey, let the guy speak. I understand that. And I'm not that, right? I'm not that at all. I'm not in that top tier. I totally understand that. But at the same time, it's like, I'm not really interested in just, I don't know how to say this. I'm not really interested in just being like, well, you're just going to be a fucking doormat for people to walk over and we're just going to say, fuck you, you're going to take it. That's the way it is. That's the game. I'm not interested. I'm just not interested in that. If that's going to be the game, like, hey, man, sorry, that's the way it is. People interrupt you and you just got to deal with it. And if you don't like it, then interrupt them back. I'm just going to be like, thank you so much for your time. I'm not interested. And that's all I was trying to say the other night, too. Like, if it's going to be the situation where it's like, I'll give you another example. It's nothing to do with last night or anything, but I did a panel recently on Prime K's show, and Lactoid, who I like a lot, was on the panel. And so I show up for the first hour, and literally, like, the first 35 minutes, I'm not making this up, probably like 30 to 35 minutes, was just a discussion between Lactoid and Prime K's. And it was about, like, sort of Lactoid's being an attorney. And after, like, a while, I'm, like, typing in the chat to my audience, like, why the fuck am I here? Well, what's the point? And they explained to me afterwards, oh, that's the way Prime does his panels. The first hour is just bullshitting. Well, then I'm not interested in the first hour. I'm sorry. There's nothing against that. You run your show however you want, but I'm just, why am I here? Right? For me, it's like I could have streamed to my audience and talked about stuff I like. Or I could have not streamed and hung out with my family, but I'm just sitting here listening to two people have a conversation that I'm basically not invited to. And it's just like, it's like, okay. It's the same there. Like if I'm on there and the people that are interacting are like, well, we're not going to answer your questions. We're not going to interact with you. It's like, okay, then either I'll stay or they can stay, but there's no sense of us both being here because at this point it's just worthless. But again, to defend the people in that panel, it's their show, it's their community. They certainly are allowed to run it any way they want. I don't wish any bad feelings on any of them, not even. Dusty called in today. He didn't necessarily apologize, but he admitted that he was intentionally being bad faith because he thought that I was, even though I wasn't, but whatever. And that other guy, Clay, I think's his name, that was on there as well. I don't wish any ill to them. I certainly don't wish ill to Sarah. I hope her channel thrives. I really do. It's just not for me. That's all. And it's no hard feelings for me to just say, I don't want to be here. I don't want to do that. I'm not interested. So that's it. And I'm not even really here to talk shit on it. I just wanted to get like my audience perspective and let the audience know, because I will guarantee next week it's going to be like, oh, did you see Sarah's panel right now? There's some lefty on there. Go on and wreck them. And I'm not going. I'm not going on those open panels anymore. I'm not. If it's going to be, Well, you go on and people just yell and scream over you, and then you're a bad sport if you don't like them talking over you. Uh, why put myself in that position? It's just that's the style that they like, and that is perfectly fine. And I don't know that I'm good for that style. I don't know I'm a good fit because I like to hear what other people were saying, and I like to be able to say what I'm saying. So that's it. So all right. Anyways, super chats. We got Jess Gerald. We finally kicked old Joe based on Jess Gerald's recommendation. Radical Coder yet to call in, and Balsania. Thanks so much, my friend. Becoming a member again. It says new member, but we know best. So now we got more calls calling in, so we'll just stick with the calls. But your job is, we're an hour in, and we're not even at 50% of our goal. Tisk tisk. Now I do a one whip wheel song for the end of the night, and I think a regular whip song. So we'll get that by the end of the night. I do think that could occur. Ron Quay real quick says, Rob, do you think there's a market for a truly fair debate channels? It's something I've been thinking about because it seems that a lot of the people who moderate debates these days suck at it. Yeah. I don't think Sarah's a bad moderator at all in the debate portion. I think it does fine. It's the open panel portion. And I understand now that the goal of the open panel portion, for me, what I thought the open panel was this. There's a debate. There's 2 people that debate, or there's 4 people that debate, right? And then you take open panel, which is the panel is talking and sort of debating or asking questions to the people that were on the debate. Then if all of those people leave by the end of the night and it just becomes all open panelists, then maybe it devolves a little. But that was my understanding of what I thought open panel would. And I'm wrong about that. That's not, I guess, what the intent is. The intent is it's supposed to be intentionally like a fun shit show. And that's not fun to me. And it's not something that I want to do. So, but I'm not going to, so I think Sarah's a fine moderator. I don't think that it's lack of ability that's the moderation seems not good in the open panel. It's that's the intent. That's what her and the audience and the open panelists expect, and that's perfectly fine. But I can't recall having a problem with Sarah in the debate portion with the moderation, not that I recall. So, but yes, certainly not just with Sarah, but other people. I think that you see her channel picking up because I think she's generally a fair moderator when it comes to like the serious portion of the debates. And I definitely think there's a market for that. I'm not really that interested. I think I'm a good moderator, but I'm not interested in it. I'd rather debate. So, but yeah, who knows? Maybe I'll throw my hat in the moderation hat again. Land O'Lakes, $20 says, seeing where you were a year ago versus now versus where you will be, I'm proud that I got in the ground floor. Looking forward to you throwing your weight around in the future. Trying to lose some of this weight. But thank you so much, Land O'Lakes. I really appreciate that. I really do. And yeah, I've grown quite significantly, both physically and size. But no, definitely with my channel, and I'm very much you all to thank for that. And it does mean a lot to me. So thank you for the nice words. Our current chat of the week, Mr. B, great to hear from you. Says Sarah plays favorites all the time. She's quick to tell some people to shut the fuck up when interrupting or ad homing. But for guys with more aggro personalities like Connor, she'll let it happen or cowers down to them. Bad moderator, 100%. Well, that's your opinion. I will just say this. I am wishing the best for Sarah and her channel. I really am. I think she seems like a very nice person. I think she works her ass off. Doing a bunch of things over there, and I'm more than happy to continue to cheer for her. I don't want myself to be in a position where I'm at odds with her because I continually get pissed off at the fact that I'm being treated like a doormat in the open panels. So I think the best thing for me is to just not be on the fucking open panels. That's how I look at it. Mr. B again, $10 says, one more thing about the topic. Jim Bob just had a debate where she kept letting someone talk over him, and he had to stop and say she's doing a really bad job. Sorry, but she's not good. Fair enough. And then, unbelievable. Look at this legend. The great Jess Gerald says, hey, day shift. Pours tequila. Do better. I'm happy that I get to meet you at DebateCon. Highlight of my year. My goodness, thank you. I can't wait. By the way, I talked to Jake Rattlesnake There is a chance that Jake and me will be showing up in costume. I'm not going to divulge it, but I think it would be quite funny. But there's a chance that Jake and me will be uh, coordinating our outfit, so to speak. It's going to be a blast, man. Not only will you get to meet me, you will get to meet my wife, who isn't a big fan of coming on cam. My wife is, in my opinion, the best person in the world. I love my wife. I think she's hilarious, funnier than me. She's not very politically oriented. She hears enough of me from downstairs, hearing me rant and rave. So, but we're very much looking forward to meeting everyone. And it was a pleasure to finally meet Andrew Wilson a couple months ago there outside Chicago, and to meet a lot of people there that were fans of online debates and knew me and were fans of Andrew Wilson. And I can't wait to meet more people at DebateCon. So I'm looking forward to meeting all of you guys. And I know my wife will be as well. She's interested in the kind of weirdos that would watch someone like me. So I think she wants to see it for herself. So, yeah, it should be fun. How many people expected at DebateCon? I have no idea. I really don't. Maybe 3 to 500, maybe? I don't know. I think 300 would be a good number. I don't know. Will Rap God Rob show up? Maybe we'll do some karaoke. I don't know. So, all right. You guys are crushing it with the super chats. Jess Gerald, thank you so much, man. A special note to Jess Gerald. When I started streaming full time, even a little before that, there's so many people to thank. There really is. Blasterbot, another person. Now, this isn't to besmirch other people, and so please don't take it that way. But there are people that throw huge amounts of money at me and other conservative streamers. And Jess Gerald was one of the first ones that I really noticed, constantly donating 50 memberships, donating like $50, $100. Blasterbot constantly donating like $50 on a nightly basis and giving me some sweet dinosaur facts. And it really is, it really means a lot. It really does. And that's not to belittle the people that are also donating, that maybe don't donate those amounts of money. I understand it. I've lived paycheck to paycheck my entire life until I was a full-time streamer. And so I totally get it. But I just want to say thank you, Jess Gerald, Blasterbot, and everyone else that donates like large amounts of money. It's noticed, and I do appreciate you a lot. I really do. It is amazing when you look at sort of the metrics on my channel, the amount of people that watch me versus the amount of people that donate, and the amount of dollars donated per person. So in other words, I have way higher than average the amount of people that watch that actually donate, and I have way higher than average the average dollar amount of a donation. And that's all because this community is amazing, and you guys are the absolute best. And look at that, right on cue, Jess Gerald donates 50 memberships. Man, thank you so much. It really does. It means a lot. I really appreciate it. All right, we'll get to our next caller, a fellow Pittsburghian, what we call ourselves. Oh, yeah, we call ourselves Yinzers. What's up, Yinzer? How you doing today?
It's not too bad. Well, first off, I will say this. I find it disgusting, the dog whistles. Um, Gavin Newsom is a well-spoken inner-city individual. Like you're just it's dog whistles. I don't know what to say.
What am I really saying? Yes. Well, I guess you'd have to go to Rumble to hear my real thoughts without the dog whistle. So, yeah, I'm not a Newsom fan, though. I do. One of the things is I think that a lot of people mistake dislike for someone with assuming that they're not talented or underestimating them. And I think that's a mistake in the case of Gavin Newsom. He's vapid. There's not a lot of depth to his arguments, but there's a lot of things he has going for him. And he will be a difficult adversary, despite the fact that he'll be starting with a lot of unpopular policies that he had during the pandemic. And even before then, I mean, most people, if your signature issue was we're going to end homelessness in like within 5 years, and 10 years later the problem's ballooned out of control despite billions of dollars spent, you'd say, well, that's the death knell. But no, Newsom's stronger than ever in California. And it really goes to show how he's able to sort of control a narrative and roll with the punches. Now, he has a lot of help, but he's definitely articulate when he needs to be, and he has the right look. And he's going to be seen as a comforting centrist is how they're going to push him. Someone who's willing to fight back against the eccentricities of Donald Trump and company. So,
No, I agree with that sentiment, and attractiveness goes a long way. I
yeah,
won't deny
it does.
that.
It definitely does. That's
Hey,
why.
you,
That's why I hang out with Jake Rattlesnake. You gotta
speaking of
have
Jake,
someone. You gotta have someone, a himbo, on
that's
there with you.
well, the himbo himself. I was watching him right before this. He exposed the potential outfit choice that you might be going with. So it is out there now. It might not be
Oh, did he say? Did he say what we might be doing?
I think the idea came from a super chat.
See, I wondered. I knew he was doing a debate today, but I didn't know when. And right before I came up, because I was hanging out with my son, and I came out and I checked my messages, and he sent me a message, and it was like, "You tell me, what did he say the possible choice was?"
Well, it'd be a class. Well, he actually said the movie, but it'd be a classic '80s, two well-dressed individuals causing shenanigans.
On
So
a mission from God. Yeah,
a
that's
mission.
right. Little Blues Brothers action. I would be happy to be Belushi. And he messaged me that. Now, I didn't know that it came from a super chat. That's quite funny. But I heard he was wrecking that fool over on Modern Day Debate there.
Yeah. So the debates are off with let's define terms, and he agreed to the terms. And then the very first study he brought up is like, well, all the studies I brought in mainly dealt in death. So all I care about is the death. Now we can talk about generic stuff, but he's like, in the big scheme of things, death is the only thing that matters. I'm like, okay, conceptually that does make sense. Death is the ultimate thing, but it's like, okay, one death compared to tens of thousands of people being so scared to go out in public, you start getting into equivalent territories like, oh, um, George Floyd riots compared to one death. It's like, okay, yeah, George Floyd riots can, once 10,000, 100,000, millions of dollars of property damage. Now we're talking, okay, maybe this is equivalent to one death. Like, as sad as that could be, but like, you can't just say, oh, I only care about deaths. It's like, okay, so any lynchings that doesn't cause a death doesn't matter. Like, it was kind of, I didn't like how the guy came into it
Do we,
saying violence.
who's rating? Is it Jake that rated? We're talking shit on him right now. No, we're not talking shit. I think Jake's actually a tremendous. Thank you to whoever rated. I think it might be Jake because people put little snake symbols. I think Jake's really I think he's really improved as a debater, and I think he's very good. I will review that debate tomorrow. But it's a fake raid. That's okay. Fake raids are good too. Um, yeah, I mean, full disclosure, I did talk to Jake a little during the extravaganza at the end of the extravaganza there Monday, and he was like, "Yeah, I got this debate coming up," and so I was aware of like sort of what his strategy would be. Think about this for a second, right? It's the same sort of mentality that led to lockdowns during the pandemic, which is like, well, death's the only thing that matters. Okay, but even if you say that, you have to understand that if certain things occur, predictably a second order will be deaths that come for that. So, for example, I may say, well, if deaths are the only thing that matters, well, then what we're going to do is lower the speed limit to 20 mile an hour everywhere, right? Less vehicular deaths, right? Well, yes, but not only would that lower people's quality of life significantly, it would predictably damage the economy a lot. And then what do you think happens when people are poor? Well, it actually decreases life expectancy. Why? Well, when people are poor, they have to work harder, their mental health's poorer, they abuse substances more, they have a worse diet, and all of that inevitably leads to death. And so when I was talking about the lockdowns, and I was like, look, this will probably end up, even if we take out all discussions of like, are there side effects of a vaccine and this, that, and the other, by intentionally sabotaging our economy, the predictable results of that were always going to be that it's going to cause death and destruction. Now, you may say that there's a time where that death and destruction is less than the death and destruction that a disease itself could do. And I'm willing to concede that could be the case. For example, if a biological weapon's deployed over a major city in this country and it's a contagious disease that's incredibly lethal, would it make sense to lock that place down? Probably.
Yeah, I mean,
It would
we
depend.
all played. We all played Resident Evil 2.
That's right. That's what I'm
Raccoon
thinking. Right.
City.
You got to lock down Raccoon City, right? You don't want these zombies breaking out into the rest of the country. But that's certainly not what we had with the pandemic. And not only that, more importantly, they didn't even try to argue it. Like when you were like, well, let's look. What's the best possible, or what's the best evidence we have, the best predictions we have? They were like, fuck you. You want grandma to die? Right? And that was the problem. So it's the same thing here. It's like, okay, so let's look at this topic. If death is all that matters, how many deaths would these studies suggest were the resultant of right-wing right-wing political violence. Like, now
Well,
the studies
so
are bullshit anyways, but do you have any idea what this guy was claiming?
he said deaths caused by right wingers were increased, and he brought up, I believe, the mosque shooting up in New York or Pittsburgh, and it was like pardon my French, a skinhead who killed a bunch of people.
Synagogue, yeah, and in Pittsburgh, yeah, the Tree of Life synagogue.
And
Yeah.
he's like, okay, was that left wing? Is that right wing? He's like, yeah, because he said it was a racial base, and then he brought Jake was like immediately, how about that girl who got stabbed in the neck? He said, I got that white bitch. Is that racial? He's like, is that left wing? He's like, it's like immediately threw it back in his face, like, okay, I guess by the
Right. So
parameters, like,
certainly with each incident, there's a question of what is left and right, right? Like, if someone is just a white supremacist, what about that makes them a quote right winger, right? Uh, for example, if a black supremacist, a black nationalist goes out and kills a bunch of people, is that left wing violence? Or do you still say no? Racial violence like that by default is right wing. Uh, is Islamic terrorism right wing? Is all like sort of religious violence right wing? Or do we consider that a separate category? A lot of places consider that a separate section of terrorism. Some people lump it in with the right, though. Or do we
no,
lump it
no,
in
no,
with the
so
left because Islamic people are more likely to vote with the Democratic Party? So there are clearly problems with the way that these things are categorized. But let's escape that from a second, right? Let's forget about that. Let's say that each incident that his study brings up is accurately categorized. How many deaths would that be, according to his study? So if we're taking things like, the church shooting in Buffalo there, the Tree of Life synagogue shooting, my guess, and I'm just throwing this out there, I'm going to be generous and say that there might be a collective 1,000 deaths over the past decade that you could attribute to right-wing violence. I don't know if he cited a number. But do you know if he cited a number?
he gave the study. At a certain point, I dipped out of that because Jake was just dominating. I'm like, okay, yeah, Jake's winning this, and I saw you were active, so I'm like, okay, I'm gonna jump over to here, get in that call line, baby.
There you go. Real quick, Harry Lehrman. I'm glad to hear you're getting better, man. Prayers out to you. So I'm glad to hear that you're getting better. Sorry that you were sick though. But yeah, so let's just assume 1,000, 2,000. So 1,000. If that's all that matters is deaths, then who gives a fuck? 1,000 deaths over a 10-year period? That's nothing. That's a drop in the hat. More people than
Yeah,
that have died by lightning. So
well, and
why
that's the
even
thing.
focus on it? If that's the idea, why did we have this massive FBI task force and this, that, and the other? What's the whole point? If
Well,
all that matters is deaths, clearly that's not it, right?
and
Imagine if we treated like gang violence like that. Well, we don't give a shit about the destruction that's, rampaging cities and this, that, and the other. We don't care if your property gets burglarized. We don't care about SA and other sort of heinous personal assaults. All we care about is death. Like, it's obviously a stupid way to look at it just from a numbers perspective. And then you get to the problems that the way that it's categorized is bullshit anyways. And then furthermore, right? Like, you get the predictable consequences of the death, intimidation, etc., or death that could come from other acts. For example, if left-wing violence means that shops close up in inner city, and so there aren't available options for people to grocery shop and to have careers and to pull themselves out of addiction, etc. How many people have died as a result? And lastly, it's just fundamentally stupid that we would only consider deaths. Would that mean
Uh,
that if every day, if Trump sends out goons every day to beat the fuck out of everyone that disagrees with him, but not kill them, would you say, no problem? Who cares? No, of course not. You would say that's a fucking massive problem. So.
yeah, I would say the biggest issue with left-wing violence, and although death definitely gives it the biggest one, if every time I go outside, I know I'm going to get a bike lock to the head or a cement milkshake thrown in my face, that's like two of those incidents probably would equal the death. Like, I am forever have brain damage because of one bike attack. Like, it, at a certain point, it's like, okay, deaths, yeah, are the biggest deal, but you don't, it's like two steps away from, okay, these extreme violences are just as bad as a death.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to quantify as bad as a death. I get that, right? But certainly, like, the idea is, let's just the logical extrapolation list would be like, let's say next year that there were two right-wing political murders, right? So two people lost their life, but there are billions of dollars of damages of left-wing riots. Which is worse? Now, at the individual level, clearly dying's worse than like having your home burned down or having your shop looted and losing your livelihood. Clearly, you would rather, if you had to pick, would you rather your house be vandalized, destroyed, be physically beaten, and end up poor, or be killed? I would choose the former, right?
Oh, it's a very dark question.
Right, but
it's
if
a
it
question
happens
that-
over and over and over, look, the truth is that it's bullshit for a litany of ways, and I'll be doing this debate October 28th on Modern Day Debates, the same topic. And so I hope that that's the strategy that my opponents employ, that they're going to say that the only thing that matters is deaths. That, oh boy, I'll be more than happy if that's all they bring to the table. But the truth is that they're incapable. Here's the truth, right? It doesn't matter what the studies say. I'm sick and tired of this appeal to like, but the studies. All you have to do is start to go through the studies to realize they're bullshit. But we all know the truth. We can all see it. We all know. We know that the left is a propensity to violence more than the right. There are fringe extremists. Yes, I'll grant that. And there may even be more fringe extremists historically on the right than the left. I'm not sure that's the case, but let's say for the sake of argument it is. But the violence is ubiquitous and accepted on the left. You can't imagine violent right-wingers attacking federal law enforcement literally hundreds of times a year in a right-wing city. You can't imagine it. You couldn't imagine a right-wing Chaz zone. You can't imagine it. You couldn't imagine right-wingers rioting over and over and over in hundreds of locations across this country. You can't imagine it, but that happens on the left.
No, and,
We see it.
correct. The way I see it is, okay, if you want to say right wing area takes over an area, it says it's their own government. You know what they do? They buy the land.
Well, yes. Well, yeah, but they do it through illegal. That's not violent, but yes. But if it did happen, if it happened through violence, not only would everyone on the right condemn it, every mainstream person on the right would condemn it, you would literally see the militarized federal government go in and instantly wipe it out. Instantly. Mm-hmm. And they would be going after everyone that had any connections to it. They'd be investigating any lawmakers that allegedly had connections. They'd be investigating the money that went in for these paramilitants to section off 6 city blocks. This shit happens all the time in the land. And I'm tired of pretending. I'm tired of this source, please. It's just bullshit. I'll give you the final word, Yinzer, and then I'll read some super chats and get to the next call. So,
the last thing I'll say is, I know this is one issue that that was brought up in the Jake debate that you're going to review tomorrow, per your word.
Yes, that's the plan. Unless something crazy. I mean, there's always a chance that like some crazy news cycle happens, or that I end up in a debate or something myself. But yes, the plan is to review.
Son will call you next.
God help me.
No, so the last thing I'll say is, I don't know if this is something that you think is advantageous to a more, I guess, appropriate debate or not, but having the moderator like, hey, here's a stockpile of Rob's sources, here's a stockpile of your opponent's sources, treat it like a court case. If you're going to cite something, please put it into this file, the discovery thing, and try to be as good faith about it, and hope they're as good faith about it. It's like, if they drop 10 sources within 10 minutes of the debate, obviously that's not a good debate, but like, at least something that's like, okay, can I at least review your sources and you can review mine, similar to how Steven Crowder does it on his
people like that. I've done that. Like, you remember I did this debate with Radical Coder, and the entire debate was like my notes that I gave him, and I gave him a month to prepare. What's that?
Was it a month in advance you gave it to him?
Yeah, he had it a month in advance. He still didn't do so well. But I don't know. I do think that there is part of debate that is like that you shouldn't limit yourself to sources. Like let's say that I did this, right? Okay, let me put it this way. So like when I did policy debate in college, it would have been absurd to be like, okay, give me all of your sources and then I'll take all of your sources. Like, because as soon as you give me, imagine this, me and you're debating and I'm like, here's my 5 sources, and you're like, here's my 5. And I'm going to be like, okay, now I have 5 sources to rebut your 5. So here's 5 more. And you're going to be like, okay, well, here's my 5 to rebut your rebuttals of my rebuttal. And all of a sudden, we still end up with 90 sources. And it's like, I don't have that much prep time. I'm not going to have time to sit there and go through it. I think for me, I don't mind the fact that sources are used in real time. I think it's part of the skill of debate to be able to rebut those. That's the way things occur in real life. And if you limit yourself to only, I can tell you right now what would happen, right? Like, if I said, here's the 5 sources I'm going to use, I will guarantee somewhere through the course of that debate, I'd be like, well, wait a minute, there's also this thing. And they'd be go, oh, you can't bring that up. That wasn't one of the sources that you previously sent me. And so I don't mind that level of it. Like, I think it's just part of the skill of it to be like, look, you should sort of know what the arguments your opponents are going to make and be prepared for those sorts of sources. And if not, if they bring up something you don't expect, then you have to go through that in real time. And I think that that's a fair way to go about it. Oftentimes, though, what you see is most people that are citing sources, and myself, I'm guilty of this as well at times, and I'll admit this. You haven't really gone through the methodology and looked at it too thoroughly. You're reading an abstract or something of that account. And I'm certainly guilty of that as well. But yeah, I do think that I'm going to be talking to my man Spiro. I do have an idea. I'm not going to disclose it. I'll just give the bare bones of this. I think it would be good to have someone who's actually an experienced coder help set up a website to make sources available to like-minded individuals. So maybe you would be saying, hey, I'm going to have an abortion debate. Bam. You go to this website and here's all of the data that I've compiled on the subject. And not just me, open source it. People that have like-minded views on it. And so that would help you or, for debating, but I'm not interested in, I'm giving all of my sources to my opponents. Like, I think that that's not really the spirit of debate that I'm normally used to. Now, that's the spirit of, like, if you're two people sitting down trying to have a discussion to solve a problem, maybe, but, I've heard people say this before and it's like, I've done it. Like I said, I gave fucking Radical Coder and I've had other debates where I was like, here's exactly what I'm going to be pointing to. Here's where my definition comes from. Here you go, before the debate. But in general, well, hey, Yinzer, thanks so much, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Hope you have a good rest of your night.
All right, man. We'll talk soon. Take it easy. It's funny. I'm getting day shift people calling in on night shift. Pretty cool. Kellen, thank you so much for becoming a member. Really appreciate it. Mrs. D, nice to hear from you again. Thanks for becoming a member again. Felon lost it all, $20. Thank you so much. Says, hello, Rob. Sent you a message on X of a philosophical exchange I had with the Grok analysis, which is hilarious, and I think you'd get a kick out of it. Anyways, have a good night. Thank you. Man, this is the second night in a row. What's your name here? Do you have the same name on X? I guess my question would be, when did you send it? Because if you just sent it tonight, I'm not seeing it. And then if you have a different name, I won't know how to look for it. Believe it or not, I get a lot of messages. So just this week, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 24 different people have sent me messages. So sometimes things get lost. I do apologize for that. I'm actually flattered that people send me as much as they do. But I will look for it. If you sent it tonight, it didn't come through, which is odd. But last night, it was the same thing. That guy was saying that he sent me stuff on X and it didn't come through. So weird. Balsania, $5. Thank you so much. As an experienced coder, why not a radical one? I don't know, because I'd like to keep my sanity. And there's Mrs. D, becomes a member again. I was like, says new member and a member for 3 months. Says, much love and God bless Rob. Jake did really well. I'm glad to hear it. Like I said, I plan on reviewing that debate tomorrow. Yeah, we will get that website up. And maybe it'll be a way for us to make monies. Or it might get attached to something with the Crucible where there's a bigger database of people already. I don't know. Yeah. Yeah, don't worry, though. I get a lot of, like, threats and just people call me a fat idiot, too. So don't feel too bad. I'd say it's 80-20. 80% of the messages are supportive of me, and then 20% are wishing death on me. So not a bad ratio. Actually, I'll be straight up. I'm a little facetious there. I have not received a legitimate, like, I hope you die or I'm going to use violence against you message in probably 4 or 5 months. I've gotten them, but not lately. I will get the "you're a fat idiot that no one likes." I get those messages quite frequently, but all right. Miggy's up next. Then we got Alley Cat and then Average Redhead. See, Miggy's a both shifter. He's day and night shift. He calls in a lot during day shift, so I kind of like the call-ins at night as well because I'm not going to do it all the time. The call-in show during the day is enough. Don't get me wrong, but during the day we're limited. Here's what happens if you're not a daytime person. Here's what happens. So I'll start the show and I talk for 15, 20 minutes to half an hour. And then I usually at 12:30 like to start the call-in portion, which lasts till 2:30. That's 2 hours. And by 45 minutes to an hour into the stream, I'll have 2 or 3 calls. That's all that will have called in. So let's say Miggy's the first call. I'll talk to Miggy for 20, 25 minutes because there's no one else in the queue. Then someone pops up, I talk to them 20, 25 minutes, right? So by the time we're halfway through the show, halfway through the call-in portion, I'll have reached 3 callers. And then all of a sudden in the second hour, I'll have 14 people try to call in. And it's like, I always feel bad. Like today, there were 2 people I didn't get to. And even the ones I'm getting to at the end, I'm like, hey man, you got like 3 minutes. I'm so sorry. I'm not trying to be a dick. And it seems bad because it's like, wait a minute, you spent so much time with that first guy. Today it was Evan. Well, yeah, no one else was in the queue. So, or there was only one person in the queue. So I didn't feel the need to rush it. Because if I rush through those early calls and then no one calls in, it's like, the call-in link is pinned at the top of the YouTube. So it's just StreamYards. All you need, it's just a URL. You don't have to download anything. All you'll need is a microphone. So anyways, Miggy, you ready? All right, we'll bring him up. What's up, Miggy? How you doing today, man?
Oh, pretty good so far, I guess. I'm just seeing what's talking about how the left has been spiraling out of control, and they pretty much not want the challenge going further in terms of defying orders, and I guess want to be more and more violent themselves or so.
Yeah, it's definitely. I mean, it's becoming. The truth is, I had predicted this for a long time. As they lose institutional power, they'll become more and more desperate, and they'll justify more and more violent actions. And I know, Miggy, you've heard me talk about this, and I think we are together have talked about this. It wasn't that Charlie Kirk was killed because he was extremely radical as a right winger. His political beliefs were pretty much mainstream MAGA Republican at this point. I know people that are carpenters and welders that are more right wing or more, quote, extreme, whatever the fuck that means, than Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk was killed because he was effective. That's why, because he had a big reach and he was making a difference. And alls that needs to put you on the list for being an enemy is just not being totally in line with the left. You could be a left winger that will be marked as an enemy, like John Fetterman, possibly. It just depends. And so the way this works is they're not going to come right out of the gate like, wow, we're going to punch you in the face, or there's going to be assassins that come after you. If they could beat you at the ballot box, they will. If they could beat you in a debate, they will. If they could beat you culturally, they will. If they could beat you through executive order or something like that, then they will. But if they can't, then they will escalate tactics. And because of that, I was able to predict quite easily that as they lose the ability to win at the ballot box and win the debate and win through culture and win through just politicians through executive fiat, or win through judges that are just allowing shit to go, or win through prosecutors that are going after their opponents and allowing them to get away with shit. As that starts to erode, well, they're not going to just say, you know what, we lose. They're going to say, okay, then the tactics are allowed to intensify. And I've been dealing with this, for a long time in debate. I saw this, and I've told this story many times on the website Above Top Secret, which sadly is out of commission now. But or else I used to bring this up in the stream all the time. This little, thread that I had with a person on there. He went by the alias True Brit was his name, and he was sort of, I believe, a socialist communist. Well, not spoken, but you could tell intelligent person from interactions that we had. And so this, always seemed a bit unhinged as like a socialist, but didn't seem like bloodthirsty. And I remember after Charlottesville, he was like, look, it's time to call it out. It's called a spade a spade. At this point, if you're a Trump supporter, you're a Nazi, and everything should be on the table to do to you. And so I just started to prod a little, message after message on a public posting board. These weren't DMs. I'm like, what do you mean everything's on the table? Well, blah, blah, blah. What do you mean they're all Nazis? So anyone who supported Trump, well, only if you continue to support him. Okay, so if I continue to support Trump, I'm a Nazi? Yes. It's undoubtable at this point. He's a Nazi. He said Nazis are good people, so you are if you support him. Okay? All right? And what do you think should be done to me? Well, we shouldn't deal with you and you should be ostracized and you should be blah, blah. I'm like, okay, but what if that doesn't work? What if people like me what if Trump's on the precipice of winning in 2020? And he's like, well, there's an answer for that too. And I was like, well, what's the answer? He's like, well, we would be justified in lethal force. I was like, against who? He's like, all the Nazis. And I'm like, and who are the Nazis? He's like, I was like, all the Trump supporters, right? Yep. And I was like, so all Trump voters at this point, after Charlottesville, would definitely be Nazis, right? Yep. And if Trump's on the precipice of winning, then it would be justified to kill all of them. Yes. That's what he told me on a public board.
Well, and it took a little bit more time, but now it's getting to that point because they have, they gotten arrogant, they gotten lazy. So they pretty much they pretty much sat down. They got pretty much just more. Wait,
one second here. Mute yourself for a second because it's coming through. Crimson, why don't you call in? Right? If I have the ability to endlessly vagueless whine and spew absolutely nothing ever, absolute abject nonsense. I've been dealing with this for 20 years. You are entirely full of shit. Who is escalating? Why don't you call in, Crimson? Obviously, as someone who's just vapidly saying nothing, you'll be easy to dispense with me. After all, you've been dealing with this for 10 years. Right? The call-in number's right there.
Well, I can definitely say this has been escalating for quite a long time. Even way before Trump, we started seeing political violence from the left. During Obama years, just around the Trayvon Martin situation, just 2 years before Trump announced running for president, you can see how bad it was during the Trayvon Martin, Ferguson, and all those years before Trump even became a thing. So imagine if someone rises up to pretty much oppose them, it was going to get even worse. And I was right; it was going to get worse and worse. In fact, even Alex Jones even warned about this in 2010 that was going to get to this point.
The point I was trying to make there with that story, with that website was, it was clear. It's clear that there are people. What it shows is degrees of escalation. It was a worthwhile interaction because what it shows is the mentality is you're evil. Like our opposition's evil. You're fascist. You're fans of that Austrian painter. That's who you are. Now, if you're a fan of that Austrian painter and you're some homeless man living under the bridge, we don't really have to worry about you. We'll say, get a job, you bum. Get the hell out of my face. But if you're a fan of that Austrian painter and you're president, well, now it's different. Now, you're evil in both scenarios. It's just in one scenario, you're a nobody. In the other scenario, you have power to use your evil. And so, therefore, the tactics intensify. And that's where we're at now. It's not that it's changed since, I mean, they're upping the gaslighting about us being fascist or whatever, but the difference is they see themselves losing power now, not just politically, but culturally. And they're struggling. They don't know what to do. And so all they know at this point is to keep doubling down. And those that are more sensible in the Democratic Party, they don't know what to do. They're realizing that they've made their bed with absolute fucking lunatics. And so, I'll probably see if I can find this.
Well, in this case, because of the fact that they had institutional power for God knows how long, for over nearly a century, so they pretty much just got lazy and just became ineffective until, then again, they knew that the right for a very long time until we had this new generation 10 years that started 10 years ago. And look what's gotten to the point now, that now they pretty much have lost all control. They thought by shutting everything down, going after the right was going to be a good idea, but it just kept galvanizing to the point. Like social media pretty much added a new monkey wrench to this whole thing. That's one of the reasons why they lost power, because social media pretty much became the most effective tool for the right to use against the institutional powers of the left. The left pretty much held control because they control the mainstream media channels and all that. But with social media, how do you control that? It's basically the wild, wild west of information and communication.
Yeah. So I'll play this clip here. But Miggy, thanks so much, man, for calling in. I really appreciate it, man.
No
It's always
problem.
a pleasure.
Yeah, I also wanted to add the odds for Jay Jones in Virginia becoming Attorney General has been dropping a lot. And I guess the Democrats are probably gonna also losing grounds, and their odds is not going to their favor either. So it's working. The exposing of the scandals are working. I was just seeing what's happening in New Jersey is also in favor of Jackson Ciattarelli. So the momentum is rising. So don't give up just yet. For anybody who lives in New Jersey and Virginia, get out and vote. Get out and vote early, and do it in person. Or do mail-in ballots if you can. Do not put the feet off the pedal. Hit it harder and make the momentum when you go faster.
Yeah, I totally agree, man. All right, thanks, Miggy. I love Miggy's a great dude. I love listening to him call in, but man, his mic is it pops, and then I can always hear myself when I'm talking there. But going on that point, like Bill Maher is not someone that I'm a big fan of, and I think people use him too much. But he's someone who sees the writing on the wall. I don't think that Bill Maher is someone who's like really cheering for violence necessarily. But watch this little interaction from his show the other day.
Somebody on your network got shit canned.
I think the official term was let go.
Okay, this is Matthew Dowd said you can't be saying these awful words and then not expect awful actions to take place. Yes, you can. I do expect that. I do not expect awful actions to take place. I think this is awful when you open this window. Like, I didn't like what he said, and what he said was vile and this and that. Irrelevant. Irrelevant. We don't shoot people in this country, and we don't defend it, and we don't mock their death.
And that's sort of like, I think there's a lot of centrists or like people that aren't as super as extreme. Yeah, he certainly hates Christians. I have no love for Bill Maher, but even he can see it's like, what the fuck? Like, what's happening? And like the Democratic Party right now is like, what do we do? Huge portions of, I mean, again, 55% of people polled in the Democrat that identify as Democrats said they could at least somewhat justify the murder of Donald Trump. What do you do with that? That's your base. That's the mainstream Democrat. All right. Now, if I'm not mistaken, I think Tyler might be a lefty who's called in, and everyone's agreed that they could move to the front of the line in the little private chat. All right, so let's try it. Tyler, what's happening?
How dare you call me a lefty, Rob?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Did you see the? Offended.
Did you see the? You were like, "Hey, no rush, Rob," and then people were like, "I'm fine with letting him go ahead of me. Lefties always go to the front of the line." So
yeah,
I thought,
no, I'm just shooting up zombies, dude. Just listen to you, spread the word and all that. So yeah, no, I'm just.
Well, hey, it's nice to talk to you, man. What's on your mind?
Well, we just wrapped up our show. Obviously, like I said, we rated you, and
thank you. Oh, that's who rated. Okay, thank you so much.
It's me, baby.
Much appreciated.
That's
I
me.
use StreamYard, so I can't ever see that shit. Like,
I know.
But thank you, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. So we've been kind of well, obviously, like we're Canadian, if you can't tell.
That's fine. We won't hold it against. No, I'm a big fan of Canada. It's my second favorite country.
You shouldn't be.
After Zimbabwe.
You shouldn't be. Unfortunately.
Let me put it this way. The country I have the second most friends from is Canada. Let's put it that way. The Canadian government, it's a beautiful country, though. It really is. I one time went through the wilds of Canada, like 2.5 hours north of Niagara, and it was beautiful. I had my first ever escargot. What's that?
You didn't even experience the beautiful part. You got to meet all the new Canadians from.
Well, listen now. Niagara Falls is horseshit. It's just United States light. It's just tourist bullshit. So I was 19. I used to think it was funny. So I'm 41 now. So this is 22 years ago. And it was funny because we're 19 and we're crossing the border to drink because you have to be 21 in the States, but only 19 in Canada. But you have to be 19 to smoke in Canada and only 18. So like there's 19-year-olds that are Canadian crossing the border into the US to smoke, and we're crossing the border into Canada to drink. It's quite a little. So when we figured at least one day we were going to drive like 3 hours north, and we just found a little town. I couldn't tell you the name of it, but it was cool. I enjoyed it.
What state do you live in?
Pennsylvania.
Okay. I have been through the mountain range of Pennsylvania. The mountains in Pennsylvania are absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, they really are.
Yeah, I've been through like Montana. I've been all the way to the Mexican border in Texas. Absolutely gorgeous. I don't know if you've ever been to Texas, but the first time I was ever in Texas, they had a billboard sign just as you enter the state, and it says, "Men are from Mars, women are from Venus, all other genders are from Uranus." Like,
it's fair. I've been to you know what's funny? You've probably been to more states than me in the United States. I've been all along the East Coast, right? And most of that was with debate. Now I did travel when I was 12. I went to Disney World with my cousins. And I've been to a couple other states on the East Coast here, centralized around Pennsylvania. But with debate, I traveled everywhere from like Vermont down to Florida. The only time I've ever been to Texas was through the national debate tournament. And that was the first time I was ever on an airplane. And what struck me, which is so different from where I am sort of on the East, is how flat it is. Like you could just see forever. Like, and I remember, to me, that was so weird because my entire life, if you look out a window, there's a hill, there's a mountain, like everywhere. But there in Texas, it was like, wow, you could just see until you can't. Like everything is flat. It was that was the Dallas Fort Worth area that I was in. So,
yeah. You could see your dog running away for 3 days. That's
that's right. That's
exactly,
yeah.
Yeah.
So it is funny though. As a Canadian, you've probably been to more states than me.
Well, so my other profession, when I'm not shit talking our terrible liberal government, is so I drive a semi. So I've
there we go. That's so my father-in-law is a truck driver, and
yes, I've heard.
I've dabbled in. I did escort driving once or twice, but our friend Nate, that's in the chat, also he's a truck driver. So I think per capita, I have more truck drivers that watch my stream than almost any other non-truck driving stream, and I'm very proud of that. I love the truck drivers. So
you know, we need it. We need someone even just to kind of give what's going on. And no, I appreciate, like, I grew up listening to talk radio. Always loved talking shit and hearing other people's opinions on various issues. I know, like, we just had our prime minister just came down there to try and negotiate a trade deal that went spectacularly. So
I love the quote, like Trump was like, "Oh, he's a smart man. Carney's a smart man. You know, he's a good guy." And they're like, well, "Why don't you do the trade deal?" He's like, "Because I'm trying to be smart for my country." It's like, it's a pretty funny quote.
Well, and for anyone that doesn't know, Mark Carney and Donald Trump are old school buddies. Yep. They know each other very, very well. And the idea of like the 51st state and all this, kind of talk, there are quite a few Canadians that are quite appealed with that idea. And my warning that I always give to Americans, when we were just talking about the Freedom Convoys, so the leaders of the Freedom Convoy up here finally got their sentencing, and it's not the best. Could have been a lot worse. They could have been gone away for a long time. But
what did they get? Did they get prison time or?
No, they got conditional sentences, 18 months for both, curfew for the first year, and then reduced, night curfew. Or I guess they had house arrest for 1 year for both, and then 6 months of curfew from 10 to 5 o'clock. And then, there's some conditions and everything else. You can still go to work, blah, 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 blah. But fortunately, they were looking at 8 and 7 years for protesting our, for the
liberal democracy of Canada, right? You protest lockdowns, and you're looking at 8 years. Nice.
Yeah. And I'm, I would say I'm more like classical liberal, and I just have seen where like end stage kind of liberalism has gotten us. And so one thing that Mark Carney had famously said, or infamously, I guess depends how you view it, that Muslim values are Canadian values.
Yeah. Which ones?
All of them, I suppose. I don't know. We've had ever since October 7th, ever since Hamas or whatever, Gaza, however you want to phrase it, went into Israel. It's been nonstop protests and chants ever since. It hasn't stopped.
It's striking, right? It's one of these things, like, let me be as charitable as possible to people on the left. I remember early Jordan Peterson, or at least early for me seeing him, was on Joe Rogan, and he's explaining this concept. He's like, we know when the right goes too far. Like, we've seen it, and you're right to be horrified by that. And I am. I think it's grotesque, right? But do we know when the left goes too far? And he was sort of explaining the idea of, like, if your movement is basically like, fuck everyone else, we're the elite, we're the master race, and fuck you all, it's easy for everyone to be like, that's fucked up. But if you're using authoritarianism and resulting in millions of people dying, like in the Holodomor, and where the kulaks were kicked out of Ukraine and millions of people starved to death and shit like that, and you're doing so in the name of, but we're helping the poor, but we're helping the disenfranchised, the net result's fucking horrific, right? But it's harder to look at it and say this comes from a place of evil, even though it does, in my opinion, but it's not as blatant. And so I think there are people, I'm going to be as charitable as possible and say, I think there are people that mean well. And they would say something like this because they're like, well, I know a Muslim who's a decent person. I myself know Muslims that are decent people. But I don't think you understand, like, what political Islam is and what happens in country after country after country and what their beliefs are. They are and they're more anti. The irony of this is, like, if you're a Christian nationalism, like, yes, the Muslims are heretics in your mind based on your belief in Christ, etc. But as far as the policies, like, they ain't gonna put up with that LGBT shit. There ain't gonna be a lot of woke shit, right, going on.
Nope.
The group that they're most antithetical to would be the progressives.
Why don't you tell me my hair looks like this?
And yet the irony of it is, it's the progressives that'll speak up for them, because the progressives look at them as disenfranchised, at least in countries like Canada and the United States. So they end up saying shit like this, meaning well, well, their values are our values. But it's like, think of what you're saying. Like, what value? The child brides? Is that, well, maybe those are the progressive values.
This has been an issue. I remember when I was maybe 20. So I'm what? Oh, God, I'm like 30 something. I don't know how old I am. Fuck, I have to do math, and I don't like having to do that.
That sucks, yes.
Yeah. But there was a famous story, the first time I ever heard of it, of honor killing. The first time I ever heard of that. And we've seen these stories. We've seen the videos of daughters being beaten by their mothers too. It's not like the mother is an unwilling participant. She's the one given the licks just as hard as, the brothers and the fathers. And I don't know where the left has gone. Like I said, I'm a classical liberal. I'm pro-choice, I'm pro-social safety nets, but it's like these people have gone absolutely off the rails, and the Queers for Palestine and all this stuff, and I'm going, do you guys even read? And the only thing that I can think of, and this is my working theory, they've turned on Christianity and the foundations. I can at least recognize that I'm at least a cultural Christian. I understand where my morals and my values come from. But it's like they've ripped out that foundation of, let's say, at least 1,500 years of Christianity, the doctrine, the Bible of at least 1,500 years. And they've ripped out that foundation and built and are trying to build a society on sticks. Where
for me, I think that I'm not going to get into, like, I think that there are people that are intentionally pushing this that don't believe it. Like, as far as I'm concerned, like, with the establishment, deep state, whatever you want to call it, the blob, Mike Pence calls it, I think that they have an agenda and they're pushing people that aren't quite as in the know as them. But the people at the ground level that we're talking about, like the left, it's quite simply, I think it's just they hate the West. They hate it. Yeah. And so you would say, well, why do you hate the West? And they might say something like this. They might say, like, you see Hassan, if you saw that video yesterday where he allegedly shocks his dog, what he's talking about is how fucked up the West is, how fucked up the United States, as he's allegedly zapping his dog. That's what he's talking about. But they hate the West. And it would be like, well, why do you hate the West? And they would start saying shit. They'd be like, the healthcare, and they leave these poor people and the way they treat LGBT people and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, okay, if that's why you hate the West, then surely you hate Islam more. Surely you hate Islam more. But no, the reason that they don't is because Islam hates the West.
Yes.
And so there is our ally. It does not matter. They hate it for basically us. They hate it for sort of what they see as like this great demonic progressive, and it's something to be conquered. By the way, the guy, I should have said this, the guy that was saying that he wanted to debate, I'm sorry to interrupt the conversation here. His name was Ty something. Yes, I see that you're in the call queue, Ty. I do. It's just you're the last person in the queue. That's all. But you're there. I see it. So because I think he was wondering if he was on the queue or not. So you're there. I just wanted to let you know. But yeah, they definitely, and it's literally that simple. And so it's like, well, why do they want to rip the value? It's just, I liken it to what I call cultural Marxism, which it was just Marxism was the oppressors versus the oppressed based on economics. But it's like, well, what happens if you just do that on everything? What if we did it on race? White people are oppressors, the rest of the groups are oppressed.
We
Men
have
are
that
oppressors.
in Canada.
Yeah.
We literally, so I would encourage anyone, look up the Galdo principle. Look up that. It will blow your mind when you see what that is. It institutes identity into sentencing conditions.
It's insane. Well, hey, I hate to do this. I do have like 6 other people on.
No worries.
Shout out your channel, though, please. And thank you so much for the raid and for the call. I do call-in shows every day at noon, so if you ever want to call in.
Well, I'm normally driving, and I don't want to. You don't want to listen to the background of a truck rattling, so I just listen while I'm cruising around. Of course, we're offended. You're offended. We're live on. God, what are we on? We're on Rumble. We're on X. We're on Twitch until Dan Clancy kicks us off, and we're on Kick.
Did he testify today? Was that today or is that tomorrow?
As far as I know, it was today. I didn't catch any of it. There was too much going on.
Yep.
Way too much. But yeah, that'll have to be my listening. So you have homework to do for me. Thank you. Appreciate it, Rob. With regards to that. Yeah, we're live every Monday and Wednesday at 8:00 Central Time and 1300 on Saturdays. We love our weekend warriors, and that's how we pay homage to them. One thing I do want to say, Americans, we have socialized healthcare here. In COVID, we got to see the absolute brutality that when you are an expense line on a government spending sheet, they have no problem kicking your ass to the curb. One thing, when COVID first was detected in Canada, our government commissioned a study, and they said, how much is a person worth? And they came to the valuation of $60,000. So after that, you are no longer valuable to the state. They have no problem killing you. One of our leading deaths within Canada is where the government says, how about we just kill you for you? So we could spend, you got more time another time. We could absolutely, and I tell this to all Americans, the idea of universal health care is a fucking death sentence. Sorry, I don't know if you swear on here.
Oh, that's fine. Yeah, I don't mind.
Okay.
I swear too. I'm trying. The only reason I'm trying to cut back on swearing is because my son started to repeat me. So if I swear here, then I'm more likely to swear. So I'm trying to just myself. But he ain't watching the show, so I don't care if other people swear at all. But
yeah,
hey, it's a pleasure, man. It really
absolutely.
is. And hopefully we'll talk again soon. But thank you for being a driver. I think that the only reason that so many of us could live a life of luxury here in the West is because people like you doing that hard job. So thank you so much for that, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you. And everyone in chat, you guys have a fantastic night. I appreciate it,
all right,
Rob.
Take it easy, Tyler. Yep. All right. Great call. All right. It's going to be Alley Cat, Average Redhead, How Long Nate, and then Ty Snotty is the order of the next 4 people. Got some super chats to get to real quick and some other business to take care of. Our buddy AJC, $10 says Hassan's chair did great in the last debate. Here's my support for supporting that one guy's back that's sitting on him. Oh, yes. What's that guy's name? Here, wait. I couldn't help. This is too good. So new footage of Hassan has actually dropped since we're talking about him. Good stuff. I'm an idiot, but I thought that was funny. Thank you so much, AJC. And then Land O'Lakes, $50 for the goal. You know what that means, everyone. Go. Thank you so much, Land O'Lakes. You guys beat day shift, but we just need to absolute trounce them. Let's get to like 1,000% of our goal today. That'll show them. That'll show them. All right. Thanks, guys. You guys are amazing. We're going to keep going with the show, but by popular demand, since we mentioned Hassan and chairs, I'm going to go to the restroom. I've been streaming for about 2 hours. So if you'll forgive me while I go fill up my water and I leave my co-host, the chair, come in, chair. How you doing today? It's been supporting me quite well here. So if you have any questions for the chair, just go ahead and ask. Feel free to get those super chats in for the chair. I'll be right back. Good work, chair. Much appreciated. Tell you what, man, this chair, boy, it really knows its shit, doesn't it? Good work. All right. Some people don't like the way the chair's looking at them. Blasterbot, $5. By the way, Land Lakes, I'm so excited to do the goal thing. Thank you, man. Incredibly generous. $50. Unreal. I will get that's a whip spin. Fell and lost it all at 20. We got several 20s too. So I'm gonna owe a lot of whip songs by the end. A reminder, $20 for whip song, $50 to spin the whip wheel. Also, someone sent me some more whip songs, so maybe we'll try some of that later tonight in the wee hours. We got a lot to talk about. Blaster up for $5 says, "Wow, chair, even better than Hassan's chair. That chair did what to a dog? Yeah, my chair ain't hurting my dog. My chair loves it when my dog jumps on it. So, but to be honest, my dog prefers the comfy couch downstairs more than we bought like dog beds. It's like, why is my dog gonna piss with the dog bed when it could just sit on the couch or the human bed? Like, we don't give a shit. So the dog bed just sits there empty, you know. My son's toys go in it. Land O'Lakes, $5 says, chair said Rob shocked his dog. Lies! Vicious lies. Vicious lies. All right, here we go. Now, we do have a lot of callers on, so if I limit people, I'm not trying to be rude. It's just I'm trying to get to everyone. So, we always count it as 20. But, all right, Alley Cat, what's up, man?
Yeah, hey, how's it going?
Good to see you again, man.
So yeah, a couple quick things from last night. I guess the long way of saying it is that you've probably noticed Tim Pool is very much about, oh, there's gonna be a civil war, blah 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 blah, going on. At this point, I think he's gonna if he wants a civil war to break out just so he can say that he's right, But what stuck out to me was the interesting part that his attitude is that a civil war is not going to be what people think, and that is like two sides lining up with guns and shooting at each other and like lines in the sand. He thinks it's going to be more guerrilla style, where it's going to be just like, assassinations in coffee shops and, explosions and stuff like that. And to that point, you're kind of seeing a little bit of that going on right now. So I don't know. But what ties it into last night was when Connor's brother called in. Mm-hmm. And my concern with that, and I guess the tie-in, is that the talk with the American Civil War back in the 1860s was that it was brother against brother and cousin against cousin. And that's what reminded me so much about that. And it felt like his call was like a cry for help. Like he doesn't want to see that.
I agree. So let me be clear. I have a lot of sympathy for that perspective, and I had a similar, Civil War discussions aside. I do feel that like we are entering in a situation where more and more people are I think that, let me put it this way, I'll backtrack a little. I think that it has been quite common, more so from my anecdotal, and I think also objectively this would be true, people on the left to feel so indignant about their family members that are right wing that they were willing to possibly harm familial relationships by being like, fuck you, your politics sucks, you're evil, right? And I think what we saw, and it's really like an inflection point, is with the Charlie Kirk assassination, a lot of people on the right said, fuck you, is enough's enough. And I certainly feel like that outside the scope of family. Like, I talked about this at length. Like, I would go to weddings and people knew what I do, that I ran for Congress as a Republican, or I have a YouTube stream where I talk about politics from a conservative bent, and people would give me shit, like friends of mine or friends of friends at places like weddings. And I always just bite my lip and go, uh-huh. And that's not in, that's, trust me, every part in me, you can see how it is now when someone talks shit in chat. I'm like, call in, let's fucking talk about it. That's what I want to do. But I'm at someone's wedding. And I'm like, or I'm at a funeral, or I'm at a kid's birthday party. So you don't do it. And now I'm like, go fuck yourself. You bring that shit now, I'm going to tell you. And that's certainly going to bleed into families. And I think now the difference is you're going to see right wingers more likely to go, no, fuck you. Like, especially if you're talking about things, because at this point, what's happening is, and I'm sad to say this, and I understand it, and I'm with it, right? We've always said, I can't say that. Many people, myself included, have said that the difference was the right thought the left was stupid and the left thought the right was evil. And now I'm starting to think from a right winger, like, no, they're evil, right? They're evil. The people that cheered the murder of Charlie Kirk are evil. Now, I don't mean this in a like religious sense. That's not necessarily what I'm saying. I'm just saying I'm using that word to mean like they're morally indefensible in this. Like, it is a moral failure of epic proportions, and it is no longer negotiable, right? That it's like, if that's where you're at. And I think what you're going to see is that you're going to see more and more of this. So maybe bringing it back to the guy that called in that was allegedly Connor's brother, maybe in the past he just bites his lip. His brother's doing shit that he doesn't like online, and he's like, oh. Then after the Charlie Kirk assassination, and then watching the guy that his brother works with, Destiny, say, I think that conservatives should fear for their lives to go in public. And then watching his brother go on and support that. And then watching the guy that said that in his home, in his parents' home, I think he's like, fuck this. What am I supposed to do? This is so ridiculous. Yep. And I do think that it was sort of a cry for help. The only thing I'll say is this, like, my advice, if I could really be honest, this is so difficult to say, but and again, I don't want to give advice, and it's different in each situation, and I get that, but I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't, if me and my brother had a fallout like that, I wouldn't call someone. Especially in a public forum. I would be like, I'm not, and from my perspective, just personally, I have no problem if he calls in and he talks to a right winger that dislikes Connor, and they want to talk all about the family drama and shit like that, and like, but for me, I'm just kind of like, fuck, man, that sucks. I feel bad, and I don't really want to delve deep into the family drama aspect of it. It's sufficient for me to point out what a scumbag Connor is without thinking about what that does to a family. I think it's tragic, if that story's true, that it's causing divisions amongst his family. And from the bottom of my heart, I mean this, I hope that Connor and his family are able to repair that. I really do. But I do agree with you that I do think that was a person that's at wit's end. And he heard me probably say some things that resonated with him, particularly when I was talking about, like, Connor, how could you work with a man that says that he wants your family to fear for their lives when they go in public? How could you work for that man? And that probably resonated if this person, and it does seem like I'm 95% certain, and it's only because I won't get into too many details. Based on evidence that was sent to me that I would never share behind the scenes, it's probably pretty certain that this is his brother. Everything is questionable at this point. Fuck, you could have a video of something, and it's like, it could have been altered, but it seems. But I think that it probably resonated, and he feels like he's at wit's end. And who do you talk to, right? Like.
Yeah. I know, that's exactly the problem. He doesn't know who to, as I said, his family can't solve the problem, and so he's trying to reach out and figure out who can. And that's how I see it. And I don't know the answer to it either. You know what I mean? It's like again, this is a problem that goes back 150 years, or even farther.
And it really is, like, you could see, you could really see that, like, how it's getting pushed more and more, and as the left becomes more and more, what we on the right would look at and like with our jaws slack, just like what is happening, and they view that as more and more of a moral like a moral duty. It's our moral duty when Charlie Kirk was killed to call him a fascist. It's a we have to. We're doing a good thing, and so they're drumming up more extremism as it's occurring in real time. And we're looking in horror. We're like, oh, it's very similar to. I hate to. I'm not even going to make that comparison.
Okay.
I was going to say something about October 7, and like but the Israel-Palestine thing gets very complicated. And as soon as you bring it up, then I'll get a bunch of people spurred. But the idea of like, if you think that Israel's really terrible, well, then you're like, well, October 7th, if it happened as we were told, with people coming in and butchering people at a concert. Now, maybe you're in the camp of that didn't really happen. Not here to talk about that, but just the story that we were told. When that story came out, before anyone had, quote, debunked it, there were people like, yes, good. It's like, really? Innocent concert goers? Well, yes, they're evil. Israel's evil. And so you got to, hey, want to make an omelet, you got to break some eggs. And it's sort of like the left, the Luigi Mangione thing. It's very similar there, right? Maybe this United Healthcare CEO was a good man, but he worked for an evil entity. And hey, that's the nature of things. Didn't some good people probably work on the Death Star? But we had to blow it up. We had to blow it up.
It's the contractors. It's the contractors.
Yeah,
you got to worry about that.
Yeah. And it's like they really do have that mindset. And it's like, you look at it and you're like, wow, what the fuck? Like, how can this be? And so I get it. I do think that that's a lot of what was going on with Connor's brother. I just don't know. And I'm not saying this if you're watching the gentleman that called in last night, I'm not making a moral judgment to you, or I'm not shitting on you in any way, shape, or form. I don't know what it's like to be in your situation, so I don't know what I would do. But I will say this. I don't want to get involved in the family drama, personally, from my end. I don't think that if there was a right-wing streamer that wanted to delve into it more, for me, I just wanted to be like, is this a recent change? But my intention, once I started to pique my interest, like maybe this really is Connor's brother. Because at first you just said, I'm Connor's brother. I sent you a DM. And then I was like, well, it didn't come through. Try Discord. And then he was on the call. I didn't expect him to call. So I was like, okay, let's see what he has to say. But for all I knew, he was going to be like, fuck you for talking trash on my brother. Yeah. I didn't know. Right. And so I was like, all right, let's hear what's going on. And then I'm like, is this really Connor's brother? So I'm asking things that I know the answer to. Like I said, has he met your family? Destiny. Yeah. Because I knew he had, because I saw the stream where they mentioned that Destiny was meeting Connor's mom, and he was like, well, you know the answer to that. You know the answer is yes. So I was just testing. But once I was convinced that there was at least a reasonable chance, I changed my tack to just saying, like, I don't want to hear any more, really. I just hope that you guys repair your relationship. So it's sad. Well, it's really sad. Yeah.
So the other one's really a little bit quicker. It's with the son. The first thing I think you should tell him is all dogs go to heaven. Like that's just reality,
it's a
right?
Great movie. Burt Reynolds, Dom DeLuise.
Yeah, but it's true. But I mean, from a serious point of view, is that his involvement in the church and your involvement in the church? I think eventually the things will work out, and get around to that. I think Easter is going to be really big and good for that. Like, once he learns and understands about Easter, I think that will help with things are going on and whatnot. Yeah. And as I said, he's young, maybe it's a little early, but I looked at it as like, oh, he's a chip off the old Rob Noir block. You're like, put that logic chain together super quick. You know what I mean? But yeah, I think the church is going to help solve that problem for you.
I agree. I agree. And I think that, if you're not religious, it is very much a bummer to know that your existence comes to an end someday. If you think that nothing happens or whatever that may be, and from the perspective of a child, to think that, what do you mean this ends? Like it's what a heavy subject. But I agree with you. The answer is, something else great begins, right? That's the answer. And he has been, they talk about Jesus a lot. So he's just starting, and we talk to our son about religion some, but right now he just knows Jesus is a really helpful guy who's really nice to children, and that you get to be with him when eventually your life ends.
Well, and that's why I think Easter is going to be a big thing, because I'm pretty sure that'll help, because that's, the part of the message. So I guess I just leave with this as justice for Kayla. That's all we have to say about that.
Well, thank you, man. I appreciate it. Allie, it's always a pleasure, man. Are you going to be at DebateCon?
Let's see if we can get there. Yeah, I'm hoping to get there. We'll see how things work.
All right, man. Well, hopefully we'll see you there. Take it easy, man.
Bye.
Rumble super chats. Ticker Ty Powers. $5. Thank you. Says just got home from a 12-hour bar shift. Good to see you, my friend. How are you? Now, I assume you were working at the bar because there's no spelling errors. And if you put in 12 hours drinking at the bar, kudos to you, my friend. You spell better drunk than I do sober. So I'm doing great. Flavius, always a pleasure. $10 says BLM is suing Soros for 30 million plus. Is this true? I've heard that. I haven't saw the evidence thoroughly, but I have heard that, which would be chef's kiss if that's the case. Letty, $10. Thank you. Says 925 crowd reppin'. I assume that's just an area code, but thank you. Really appreciate it. And lastly, Letty, again, $5 says pure speculation, but I'm sure a combo with Spoon will make your favorite country Rhodesia. The great monarchist Spoon. I enjoy talking to Spoon. Now, Spoon's got something. He's got a cheat code for me, though. I assume everyone with a British accent's like a genius. Though he's South. I think I brought that up to him. I think he's South African, but I'm a scumbag United Stateser. I only center on the United States. So any accent that sounds Australian, Irish, South African, fucking UK, it's all the same to me. All the same to me. So, all right. We got Average Redhead. Then we got How Long Nate, who's with a friend, I see. And then we got Ty Snotty. I think Nate said he was fishing tonight. So we'll see how this goes. Anyways, Average Redhead, what's happening, my friend? How you doing?
How you doing, Rob? Is my audio coming through fine?
Sounds great. Yep.
Great. I'd say don't worry about when people call you fat too often. You could just say you're in shape, same as a National Guard Texasman.
That's a good point. That is definitely a good point. I saw those photos. We were picking on Level 4 Lobster. I know he just left. Someone photoshopped Bucky's outfits on, which is pretty funny. Yeah, man, I'm just preparing to be deployed myself. That's it. So if I bulk up another 10, 15 pounds, I'll be ready to go,
I wanted to comment a little bit about the panels and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say overall, not to worry about it too much. I think, unfortunately, if you want to be a panel moderator, you kind of have to, because when it comes to leftist debates and all that, they'll pull out any kind of dirty trick they can.
Sure.
And unfortunately, if you want them to come to the panels, to really be fair, they're going to always try taking advantage of that or just not show up.
No, I think that's true. And look, I'm not trying to big time anyone, but I don't need the panel. And what I mean by that is I, at this point, could get debates that I don't need to go on the panel. At one point, I needed the panel because no one knew me. And so where do you go to debate someone? Well, a panel's an easy place because they're bringing a lot of people on. But now I don't need it. And so I totally accept what you're saying. I think that's absolutely true. I just don't need to deal with it. I guess that's my way of looking at it.
Yeah, no, I agree on that aspect.
But I'm not trying to sound like a big timer or saying like I'm too good for that shit, because I think it's evident from the call-ins, and especially I'm constantly trying to get people that disagree with me to call in. I want to talk to people that disagree with me. I want to argue. I want to debate. So, and I don't give a shit if you have a channel. I don't give a shit what your following is. So it's not like, oh, Rob will only debate big timers. That's not the case whatsoever. It's just like, if the platform is going to be such that it's like not productive because it's going to be just a bunch of people yelling over each other, it's just not worth my time, I guess.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that because you're very articulate, and I usually when they say was it Rob GBT, where you're just kind of going, I think you're really the only person I see that'll talk that long, but it's still very informative, and it's not like a prattle where it's just kind of craziness. For like, sometimes I'll see like Duck Debate Jim Bob, and Jim Bob will just be like, "What did you say?" Yeah,
there's a lot of people. Now, listen, I need to get better at being not as long-winded. I think that's certainly something that's true. And even when I debated in college, that was true. My weakest suit was I wasn't fast compared to most high-level collegiate debaters, and that I didn't have good word economy. In other words, I would use more words to say what I needed to say than necessary. And so those two things combined would sometimes mean that my opponents could spread me out and make like 1.8 times the arguments that I made. And it's very difficult to win a debate if they're able to just put more arguments on the page than you. So it's something that I've had to work on for a long time. But you should hear my mom talk, man. Boy, could my mom talk. My mom could call and like have a conversation like this. Hey, don't forget, we're meeting for lunch next weekend at this restaurant. Make sure you tell your wife we'll be there around 12:30. And that's a 40-minute call. It's like, what did I just hear for 40 minutes? Now, I love my mom, and she keeps it entertaining. But I definitely have inherited long-windedness. But I do think a lot of people that talk at great length, they're very repetitious. They're saying the same thing, or it's sort of inane shit that has nothing to do with anything. And oftentimes, what I'm doing is I will be like, here's a central point that I'm making, and here's 3 examples that fall into that central point. Or, okay, it's been 8 minutes since I talked, and you 4 people each said this. Well, the first thing to say, the second thing, the third thing, the fourth thing. So it's like there's a chain of thought to it. It's not just repetitious. So, but yeah, it's still something I need to work on, and it's fair from the perspective of other people on the panel and be like, dude, you're talking at great length. I totally get that. But still, I guess the way that the moderation has gone, it's sort of like on those panels for me, it's not to my liking, in the sense that it's not that I'm at a competitive disadvantage. It's that I just don't get the utility of it. Like in anything, even if not in a debate, like if we just have 8 people sitting around a couch, like doing a movie review, it's no good to any of us 8 or the audience if you can't hear people because everyone's talking over each other. Right. And so if someone constantly interrupts, and then you have to stop so that people, because it's doing no good to anyone if you're both talking, what ends up happening is everybody just rolls their eyes at that person. It's like, and if the solution is, but that's the way the game's played, and you just have to interrupt yourself, it's like, I don't see the utility of it. I just don't. So
I think I'd say whatever you end up doing as far as the panels and whatnot, I'm for it anyway. I'd say
I think that trying to get more debates and less panels is a good thing. So doing the front end of the debate and things like that, but not doing the panels. I think it's a nice compromise, and I think it'll be more productive and more enjoyable for myself and everyone else too. So that's what I'm gearing to. So I've reached out to people to set up some debates, and hopefully I'll have more of those coming up. Trying to average 1 a week is what I'm trying to do. So.
Gotcha. Yeah, you come across as a very nice guy, unlike folks like Hassan shocking their dog. You're even worried about the spiders in your office. And you say, unfortunately, just folks are going to try taking advantage of that or gaslight you. So I'd say just don't worry about those kind of things when they get under your skin too much, and just stand up for yourself whenever you feel like it.
Yeah. That's. I think you're right. I will let you go here, I think.
That was all I had. I just wanted to call in and say that quick.
Well, thank you, man. I really appreciate it. I always appreciate your support, too. So thanks so much, Average Redhead. We'll talk soon, man.
Sure thing. Bye.
All right, bye. Nate, you're up next. You about ready to go? I got 1 or 2 more super chats to read here. So Letty, 23, gives $5 more, says not 925 like an area code. 925 as in 9 to 5 gang. The day shift. The 9 to 5 gang. I like that. See, I'm just not clever enough. Well, keep getting the super chats in, gentlemen. It's much, much, much appreciated. We'll be here late tonight. So we're about 2.5 hours in. 2 hours, 23 minutes to be specific. Still got at least 2 more callers. I promise all the people that donated money for whip songs and all that stuff, I'll get to it. First up, we have our friend Nate. How long, Nate? How are you doing this fine evening, my friend?
Oh, I'm good. I'm actually here at a regular domicile, not in a truck tonight.
What, do you feel weird? You feel like
it does.
Like, what? I need wheels under my feet to feel it out.
Right. Well, it's been almost a week. I've had that job change.
Yeah. Congrats, by the way.
Oh, well, there's a little story there. I hate the political corporatization of trucking.
Yeah.
Anyway, the day that they were supposed to send me the address for the hotel and all that on Monday, they instead called and said, "Hey, we just got to rescind that offer." So I've spent the last couple of days.
That's terrible.
Yeah, well, it is what it is. Found the next couple of days, and I'm actually going to be based a little closer to you out in Fargo.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, so where I just went and did the drug screen and redid just did my DOT card in August. And
Is this preferable to the job you had prior to this? Okay,
yes,
good. So
they're both an increase in it's still an increase in my base rate. Plus, then going national the full 48 means that I can get single runs that are almost 4,000 miles rather than doing 850 in a week. So it'll still be a good increase. But no, I'm not sure if you saw there were I sent you on, I think it was Instagram. I
will say I just have to let you know I probably haven't checked my Instagram in 5 years. So if you said something on Instagram, I probably didn't see it. But.
Instagram or Facebook, I don't know. I have those because of family. But anyway, I sent you an article on there regarding that just basically talked. It was somebody talking from a way station that was actually doing the new checks, making sure that people are, first of all, able to speak and read English, and second of all, that their driver's licenses, their CDLs are legitimate. But
what a crazy such a burdensome check to make sure the language and you have a license.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, like one of them, there was this guy had a Somali accent, okay, and he's recording the guy, and he says, so are you checking to make sure he's speaking kind of broken English. It's like, are you checking to make sure I speak English? He's like, well, yeah. Well, why would I need to speak English here? Well, you need to understand if I'm asking you to turn on your headlights and then your high beams, and when I say, okay, hit your brakes, so let's check the brake lights, and release your brakes, I've got my chalks, release your brakes so I can go under and inspect, that's just part of the job. That's the job of the way stations.
Yep.
And if you can't communicate with them, if they can't communicate with you, then you're not able to do your job.
Correct.
It was one of those things. But kind of crazy. Then found out that the state of New York did the NTSB, National Transportation Safety Bureau, did an investigation for the state of New York's non-domiciled CDLs. Now, I had to go look this up. So non-domiciled CDL means one of three categories. Either they are not a naturalized citizen, or they are in temporary housing, or they don't have an official address. Now, here's the crazy part. I'm at my mom's house in Utah. While I'm doing this little transition, I have to maintain an address at a residential somewhere that's listed as a residential address. I cannot use, for instance, my employer's business address as an address for my CDL, right? However, these states have allowed non-domiciled CDLs to be issued, and not all of them are being revoked. Just the ones that, when the NTSB checked California, and they had like 25% of the ones that they checked that the people had failed or whatever. New York, the state of New York, actually had 25% of them that did not even contain a photograph of the driver.
Now I know
So
I've heard about this.
Completely falsified.
California, it was 25%. They said were illegal, but yeah, this is the first I'm hearing of it happening in New York as well.
Oh yeah, the state of New York has been doing that, and the absolute crazy thing is, like, state of New York is one of the roughest states to drive through.
Yes,
as a trucker, because you never know. They don't have official weigh stations. They just will randomly say, there will just randomly be a sign that says all trucks turn in unless waived away. And so you're at it would be a pull off place to take your 30-minute break, or maybe if there's room, do your 10-hour, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they're not official, they're not official rest areas or anything, but you just have to pull over and do it, and they'll do a full level 1 right there. And they are strict. How that state gets away with, oh, you have a non-domiciled? Okay, never mind. We're just not going to talk to you. That makes no sense.
I mean, even from the perspective of where I'm from in Pennsylvania, so I know a bunch of people that drive oversized loads. Like New York is always, you have to get certified to be an escort driver in New York. You have to pass a test just to drive. Now, this is a regular car with just lights on it, right? But to drive that, you have to take a special test. All the other states around here, like Pennsylvania, you don't need that. You could just, as long as you have a regular driver's license, you could drive the escort call. New York, everything that the escort drivers in the oversized trucks do is to New York standards, because they are the most strict. So if you can pass the law in New York, and I've seen people get pulled over and ticketed that are escort drivers or trucks driving oversized loads. The police in New York will take a stopwatch and they will time how many times your lights rotate.
If they don't rotate enough, or if they rotate too fast,
too much,
or
so they'll sit there and time it. That's how strict New York is. Oftentimes, what will happen? They're also they're more strict when it comes to the amount of escort cars you need. So oftentimes, you only need one car in Pennsylvania. You'll have to meet another car in New York, because depending on the length and height of your truck or your load that you're hauling, you may need a second or third escort driver in New York when you would only need one in a place like Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Virginia, etc. So yeah, I mean, New York is infamous in at least the oversized truck driving world for being, at least on the East Coast, the harshest state. So you're right. And this is what I said, which is most striking with all of this business with these illegals or these foreigners getting CDLs. It's the juxtaposition to how strict they are on the legal truck drivers, on the American-born truck drivers. It seems like the regulations increase every year. You have to get physicals, you have to pass tests, you have to do this, do that. Your truck has to be up to this snuff. You have to keep logbooks. Now they have e-logs, all of this shit. And then meanwhile, we're leaving these people drive these jalopies that can't speak the language, that have no name given on the fucking license, on their CDLs. And it's like that juxtaposition, because if you were like, well, the United States is just very laxed when it comes out to giving commercial driver's licenses, but that's not the case. It's very harsh. And so what happens is you could quickly see then how it benefits these companies. They know deep down these fucking drivers they're hiring shouldn't have legitimate license, but as long as they have it on paper, it's like, fuck yeah, we'll hire these people. They're way cheaper. And so what's happened is the prevailing wages for truck drivers hasn't gone up near the level that it should, because there's all this cheap labor that's coming in for people that can't even speak the language, that are hopping behind the wheels of the truck. And then what happens? Well, more accidents, more, people screwing up loads and stuff like that. So then what happens on the back end of that? Well, more regulations. But the
more regulations, more expensive insurance, all that.
It's similar to like gun control laws, right? We put all these gun control laws on the books, but then they never enforce them for the actual criminals that are doing it, right? So then what's their
Right.
solution? Well, more laws for the law-abiding. And you're
For the
already like, as the
law-abiding.
law-abiding citizen, you're like, but wait a minute, I already jumped through all these fucking hoops. Well, more hoops for you because gun crime. But those gun crime people aren't following the law anyways. You know, I remember looking at the stats in like 2019. It is a felony, I believe, if you are a convicted felon and you attempt to purchase a gun. That in its own right is a crime. So, like
Right.
the ATF or the FBI, whichever organization looks in the list, on this particular year had something like 173,000 individuals who attempted to put a crime, cut and try. You know how many they prosecuted? 2.
2.
Right?
Yeah.
And so the idea is instead of prosecuting the laws already on the books, they're like, well, fuck all that. We'll just create new laws. It's the same in the truck driving world where, like, instead of doing something like, you know what, why don't we make sure that the rules and regulations we already have, that people are up to compliance? Let's make sure that there aren't drivers that don't speak the language. Let's make sure that these CDL mills, these training places that are pumping out these CDLs, let's make sure they're doing it legitimately. No, instead what they'll do is just people like you be like, here's another 5 fucking regulations that you have to follow. You know, here's another e-log book or, you know, that you have to fill out. Here's another physical that you have to take. And it's
Right.
like, how does this solve the problem?
Well, it doesn't solve the problem. It just makes it more complicated, more convoluted, and you know. But then, you know, like the revolution is the issue. You know what I mean? That like it just coming straight out of the rules for radicals. The revolution is the issue. It that you solve one thing, well, or you come close to solving one thing, okay, now it's time to create another issue, right? So it really just comes down to it is at some point they figure there'll be enough damages out there to the public that the public will just demand that truck driving just not happen anymore. There not be coast to coast. There not be regional. That everything go on train or plane and then be handled locally, like no more than a 500-mile radius.
Yep. No, I agree.
And they've talked about doing that. Like they're still talking. NTSB is still talking about whether or not they can issue a license that would go by time zone. So you're only able to travel within your time zone. If that load needs transfer or go past the time zone, you would have to drop it and have someone else in that other time zone pick it up.
Yeah, I know it's really crazy.
Yeah.
Nate, I'm gonna
Anyway.
let you. I'm gonna let you go here tonight. We got another person who's been patiently waiting, but man, it's always a pleasure. I'm sorry to hear that one job fell through, but life's like that sometimes, man. Sometimes,
Right.
you know, that's what happened with me. You know, my situation was the home healthcare job that I'd have probably never left. Shit looked really bad one day, and the next day I was quitting my job and ended up doing much better. So here's the better times ahead, and I'm glad you got something that seems to be working out for you. Can't wait to talk to you some more, man.
Yep, from the road again next time.
All right, man. Hey, enjoy your time off. We'll talk soon.
We'll see you.
Thanks for what you do, man. We'll see you. Nate's a great guy, man. So, all right. It's been a hot minute since we've had a super chat. It's 12:40. We haven't had one since 12:05. What the hell is wrong with you people? Holy smokes. We got one more caller on, then I'm going to yell at you all. So we got Ty Snotty. Ty, you about ready? Can you hear me? All right, here we go. So, I don't know that I've ever talked to Ty. Hey, what's up, Ty? I'm sorry, I just brought you on. What's happening today?
No, it's all good. Do you? I'll. Hello.
Hello.
How's it going?
Good.
I'll show my face. Okay. I'm not an ICE agent.
Okay. Excellent. So, what's on your mind today?
I don't know. I've been in your chat for a good little minute, and there's so much to talk about. I don't even know where to start. But do you think that before I get into it, I appreciate you. You're a good man. You're a good man.
I appreciate.
I don't think that you haven't been like really mean to anybody that disagrees with you. So I appreciate you. But
well, give me time. But no, thank you. I appreciate it.
Give me time. But I honestly, off of what you've said, I can't tell if you're right or you're left. You know, I like that. I like that.
Well, I am.
You're not
So, just to explain my political ideology a little, I consider
okay.
myself first and foremost a populist. So, the central issue to me politically is I think that there are a bunch of institutions that really run the
Mhm.
Western world and run our country, and they don't really care about those of us that are on the ground. And I think oftentimes they engage in corruption. And so, for me, that
Mhm.
is more important than being right or left. Secondary to that, I considered myself libertarian adjacent, which is that I want a small government. I want fiscal responsibility. Now I'm becoming less and less than I'm becoming more of the third thing, but that's where I was. And the third is that I consider myself a Christian conservative. Is the third thing. Now, the Christianity part, when it comes to my life and the values that I have, obviously comes first and foremost. But when it comes to what I want to see done politically, I think that I could look at particularly that first thing and see that that fits into a Christian lens as well. So I did vote for Donald Trump, supported Donald Trump. I ran for Congress in 2019 as a Republican. So I
Mhm.
would consider myself conservative or Republican.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, but
Mhm.
to this day, though, are you still? Because I voted for Trump.
Mhm. Are you
I
disappointed
am
with him in his second term?
a little bit, because he only really. I mean, but we're only 9 months in, or
Well, let's do it this way.
10 months
Was
in,
like?
so
What were the
I
big?
can't really get mad.
Give me like the big reason you voted for Trump. What did you really hope that he would do if he was elected?
The tariffs, I
You
really
voted.
agreed with it. I
Okay.
agreed with the tariffs because people were fucking us out of our American money, and I really did. I voted for uh, shutting down the border. I mean, and he did though.
Do you
This
think
is
he did a
like
good job? Do you think he did a good job with the tariffs?
no,
You know, I mean,
I
it's
don't.
hard to say.
I
So
don't. Well, it's only not. It's only. It's less than a year in, so I can't really. I
well,
can't really. Yeah.
here's the
Okay,
thing,
go ahead.
right?
My
Right.
bad.
Yeah, no, you're fine, right? Like,
No, you're good.
here's the thing, right? I think with the tariffs, you could make a judgment to some degree. Now, obviously, things could change, but I think that we've seen the most aggressive portion of the tariffs. To me, that the tariffs, like there were several aspects of them. There was just tariffs across the board because you want to lower the trade deficit, but then there are
Hmm.
reciprocal tariffs, the countries that have taken advantage of us. And it sounds
Yeah,
to
I
me
know.
like you fall into that camp, that you were upset that
Yeah,
like the EU, etc. If
taking
he
advantage.
if he doesn't enact tariffs any further than he already has, but that these trade deals that they're claiming to have pan out, would you consider that a success? Or did you want those tariffs to stay regardless of any trade deal that we got?
I just think that buying. That's why like people are like normal Americans. I'm a normal American. You
Me
know,
too.
I'm a blue collar, fucking. I paint houses and shit. Like I'm a normal American,
Okay.
and I get. I it makes me wonder why I can go grab a whole couch off of Temu for a couple $100, and I maybe might spend like $300 on a couch that would be made in the U.S. that would be like upwards of hundreds of dollars worth more. You know,
Mhm.
it's like it kind of sketches me out a little bit, but
It's a fair concern. Like I think that the status quo was not sustainable with the hollowing out of manufacturing in the United States, and certainly
yeah,
China through various means, not just through direct tariffs and other means, subsidies, etc., but currency manipulation, etc. We've definitely outsourced a lot of manufacturing. Even more troubling than like general textiles, furniture, and things like that would be things like
hmm,
medical equipment, ammunition. We import a lot from China, and
I
when this
know,
is supposed to be
yeah,
our our biggest geopolitical rival, to depend on them for so many necessities is a huge mistake. It's not
I know,
sustainable. And
I
so
know.
now it remains to be seen how well Trump does vis-a-vis China, but I think so far he's done okay. For
I
me,
think he did
the
too. I think he did too.
So if I'm you and my big concern was like securing the border and tariffs, I think Trump's done pretty good on those.
I
There
know.
are other so
100%. 100%.
So then
100%.
ultimately you would be happy on the big issues. What are some of the things you're disappointed with Trump in the second term?
I'm upset about the whole. Obviously, everybody that voted for Trump the second term is upset about the Epstein shit, the JFK shit. Motherfuckers, my bad.
You can swear. I don't
People. Yeah, I don't know how your live work, but
it's just don't use racial slurs or homophobic slurs.
I would never. I'm so far left that I'm Hassan.
Okay, no, that's not good either. Yeah.
No, I'm just playing.
Please don't hurt your dog on stream.
No, dude, I beat my fucking cats. I have 3 cats. I just beat them all day.
Well, please don't.
No, obviously not. That is another thing that I wanted to talk about. That is disgusting. But what I think about Trump is he made a promise for like 6 things, and he came through on 2. Where's the other 4 though? You know, like it's virtually impossible to get into the United States now. He locked down the border. He locked it down. Mm-hmm. I think it was like under the Biden administration, I think it was like 70% of people were coming in, which is why I'm saying there's 30 to 60 million illegal immigrants, which is crazy.
Well, listen, I kind of have it. I gotta do some stuff here. Let me say this in general, right? There's certainly a lot to criticize Trump with. My big issue was corruption, and I put it at about a 5% clip that Trump would be able to do anything meaningful about corruption. However, the reason to vote for Trump more than anything, there's 2 reasons. In my opinion, and that he's largely been successful if through no fault of his own. One was just by nature of him not being the Democrat. Like, for example, the corruption would have ran rampant going further with the Democrats. They would have continued to target people like me online. They would have continued to go after parents at school board meetings.
You'd be in jail.
I don't know that, but certainly there would have been more aggressive. There would be more aggressive targeting of people from my way of life. And so Trump is at least not doing that. So that's a win.
Yeah.
The other thing is, I think that Trump has helped shift. It's sort of a chicken or egg problem. He's helped shifted the Overton window on sort of the way we talk about certain things. So a lot of this woke bullshit, like biological men and female sports and stuff, that's done. Like people are just fully able to be like.
How do you not know that? But that's the thing though that pisses me off is how do you not know that? Like if I said I'm a woman tomorrow, they would accept me.
Yeah,
and it would be okay. But if I said I'm black tomorrow, they'd be like, I
agree. Like, there's clearly it's nonsensical.
Clearly there's a nonsensical way of looking at things. It's not. There's no actual logic.
Yeah, I agree. So hey, man. Yeah. But I appreciate the call. I really do. I got to run and do some stuff here. I'm going to still be streaming, so hopefully you'll still be in the chat. But thanks so much for calling in, man. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you too.
Thanks. You take her easy.
Do have one more question for you though, real quick.
Real quick. Go ahead if you got
real quick. Do you think that Trump doing the ICE in Chicago, Portland, all this shit is beneficial, or is this something that's gonna?
It's beneficial. The rule of law matters, and we need to start deporting people. And it's important to do it in places that have called themselves sanctuary cities. It'd be the equivalent if you're like, we're going to cut back on drug crime, but you're refusing to go into the neighborhoods where you know the drugs are. So they have to go into these sort of places because they're intentionally harboring people. But hey, Todd, thank you so much, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay. All right. Do you ever wonder? Like you're wrapping up the call and it's like one more thing and you're like, ooh, don't get me in trouble here. One more thing. No, it went well. We did all right. Eclipse 916, $100. What an absolute legend. Unbelievable, says for Rob's passive coercion. I'm very passively coercive, which is better than being passively corrosive. So thank you so much, Eclipse. I really appreciate it, man. Incredibly generous. Thank you, as always. And you were, it is not unnoticed that you were really, really generous in the past as well, including yesterday. So thanks so much, man. Really appreciate it. Rational B, $2, says the issue is the counter revolution. Average Redhead, $2, says normally this $2 goes to a chair super sticker. Aha! But I'm sitting on chair. And lastly, Rational B, 4 months, says lies, innuendo, narrative control. It's how the left fights. I couldn't agree more. Absolutely. All right. It's near 1 a.m. That means it's time to get silly and mess around and stuff. But first, before we do that, one more time for my fantastic audience, let no one say that I won't give them what they really want. And so, one more time, I'm going to fill up my water bottle, go to the restroom here, and give you all the Hassan cam. Actually, my water bottle's fine. I just got to go to the restroom. Now, you're like, Hassan cam, is that where your dog comes in with its fancy collar? No. We don't do that shit in my house. We don't do that shit. But we will show you a chair without copyrighted material playing. Here you are. Chair. Do well. Be sure to let the chair know how you feel about it. Super chats for chair, always appreciated. I will be right back. Give me 30 seconds to a minute. Be right back. All right, chair. There we go. Average Redhead. See? We still got that $2 chair sticker. Thank you, Average Redhead. Chair is unstoppable. That's right. Thank you for all the kind words, everyone. Average Redhead, $2. Thank you so much for the chair. We'll take it. All right. So, a programming note, I say as if I have a real show and I'm not just some fat redneck streaming to people online. I will not be doing the daytime show Friday. Now, the reason for that, I have a very good reason for that. I will be... I missed one? Oh, shit. Oh, you're right. Thank you so much. Gully, our good friend Gully, always incredibly generous. $10. Says, for the costume you're going to have to buy for DebateCon. You're welcome. Thank you. Blues Brothers it is. Me and Jake Rattlesnake going to Blues Brothers. That fucker better not chicken out on me. I'd still look cool. Here's the thing about a Blues Brother costume. It looks cool even if you're by yourself, you know? Thank you so much, Gully. I got him now. I got him. Gully, how could I miss Gully, though? Damn, Gully's another person that's been absolutely incredibly generous to me. It's always appreciated, Gully. Thank you so much. Now, Friday. Why will I not be streaming during the daytime? Well, my son, as you know, he's in preschool. He goes to a Catholic preschool, and they're having their first field trip Friday. Now, in order for the preschool kids to go, their parent has to go with them. They have to have at least one parent with them because, you know, they're a little more hard to handle. However, my wife has also volunteered as a chaperone. So we would both go anyways, but we're both going to go. So, and we are going to a pumpkin patch, but it's a little more than a pumpkin patch. I've been there before. They have like a corn maze, and they have games, and they have concession stands. It's like a big to-do, and it's going to be a lot of fun. I think Hank's going to love it. So that will be all day Friday. So I will be leaving probably around 7:30 in the morning, and you know, it's a considerable drive to get there, and then we'll probably spend 3-4 hours there. So by the time I get home, it'll be around dinner time. So probably won't find a time to squeeze in the old daytime call-in show. No animals shocked on this podcast. No. In fact, quite to the contrary, we're too nice to the animals here. As I'll show you. To the shaky cam. All right. So our buddy, our spider friend here is no longer with us, which is tragic. As you know, he lived there. There's remnants of his web that you probably can't see, but that's it. However, we do still have one of our daddy longleg buddies. As you can see him up there. And then, if you look real close, I'll show you an even closer one. Look here. Can you see this? There's a daddy long leg. And that guy's, I could reach out and touch that guy. It's hard to, the focus feature is weird on my. Anyways, that's him. That's a daddy long leg right there. So we got 2 daddy long legs here. I have hunted. I've killed animals. I haven't hunted for years and years, but I have hunted. But I am sort of a puss. I try to not even kill bugs as best as possible. I'm not gonna lie, I have killed bugs. I've used insecticide and shit like that. So I'm not saying that like, oh, I'm like some Buddhist, but I try my best. So no, I assure you I'm not abusing my dog. Or any of my other pets. I'm a big softy when it comes to that shit. In fact, my dog Annabelle that passed away last year, as she got older, she realized that there was like no consequences from me. I would just be like, Annabelle, what are you doing? And she'd just look at you like, what are you going to do about it? Nothing. You have nothing over me. It's like that scene with the Joker in The Dark Knight, like all your strength and you could do nothing to me. That was my dog. It's just like, what are you going to do? Nothing. She had me. She had me dead to rights. Now, my dog Dorothy now listens much better. But it was kind of cool. Annabelle was cool. She was really cool. So, anyways, Friday won't be streaming. We're going to get to grifting here, playing some songs and whatever. But we do have one more caller that just called in. So let's take that call. And then the silliness and the grifting will commence. Fight Sport Talk. What's happening, my friend? How you doing tonight?
What's up, Rob? Thanks for having me on. I missed a lot of the call-ins you had earlier. So has anybody mentioned the Middle East thing?
No, which is surprising. A peace deal that's been struck with the Middle East, allegedly.
Yeah, well, the rest of the... again, I'm calling from New Zealand, so I don't know all of the details in the States. So as far as the things about deportations and the shutdown from the Democrat side because they want to keep giving illegals all these free gifts, etc. That seems to just be business as usual. But the Middle East thing, because it affects the entire world, that's what I'm thinking of. I'm like, okay, this could be very interesting.
Yeah. So I'll put this out. Here we go. Boomer Rob messing up the screen share feature. Here we go. So here's Trump's statement on it. He says, I'm very proud to announce that Israel and Hamas have both signed off on the first phase of our peace plan. This means that all of the hostages will be released very soon, and Israel will withdraw their troops to an agreed-upon line as the first steps towards a strong, durable, and everlasting peace. All parties will be treated fairly. This is a great day for the Arab and Muslim world, Israel, all surrounding nations, and the United States of America. And we thank the mediators from Qatar, Egypt, and Turkey who worked with us to make this historic and unprecedented event happen. Blessed are the peacemakers, from Trump. Now, there's a lot to say about this. First off, you have to say, I have not seen the specific details. Secondly, words are cheap, and oftentimes what you can see is one party will do something like launch an attack that would completely shred any sort of deal that we have here. However, I think this is a positive sign. And what I liked about Trump in his first term was that there was very little conflicts, and I think part of it was because of his unpredictable nature. I want a world where the United States isn't taking sides in these conflicts, but is doing their best to try to help mediate to resolve them. And I think this would be good from any perspective. If you're a pro-Palestine person, if you're a pro-Israel person, unless you're like fucking like straight up in Hamas leadership or like, the Likud or something in Israel, this is probably a very good thing if it bears fruit. And so it's certainly reason for optimism, cautious optimism. Nothing's happened yet. Just signing a piece of paper does nothing. But yeah, I think it's a big deal. And it'll be interesting to hear how the left spins it as a negative because they're constantly cheering for the world to fall apart if it means that they can't get credit for it. So, but yeah, I was shocked no one brought that up. And I didn't even bring it up. So yeah, thank you for mentioning it.
Well, it's first of all, Rob, I messaged you on Twitter. Now, I've had tons of issues with Twitter, like Elon, you slacking boy. So maybe you didn't get my message about coming on your show to discuss the Ukraine thing. Do you have like an email for your channel to use?
You could an email. You could both. The problem is I need something more reliable. Here's the thing: I don't see. So I could give you my email address. It's rob.noerr. So just my name, rob.noerr@gmail. Now, the problem is I get a lot of spam there. So sometimes I miss shit there as well. But yeah, you can send it there. But I would be happy to have you come on someday and talk about Ukraine. Yeah.
Yeah, well, again, just to introduce myself a bit to your followers briefly, I'm a combat sports channel, hence the name. But this Ukraine thing, because conservatives have a very... I just noticed the different view that conservatives have compared to liberals. And as a very staunch conservative who's grown up in a very socialist country in New Zealand, I found that to be quite interesting. And I've just learned some things which, as the alternative media gets more and more, I don't know what you could call it, just convoluted, because you've got so many QAnon, 4chan people who just seem to talk about the 50D chess thing. It's where we get our information from people who may not get all of the limelight because it's not always the most interesting view. But this conflict with Ukraine, it's very interesting, the way it could impact the world. So I will email you, and it's my email.
Yeah, absolutely. It would be my pleasure, and I would love to talk to you about it. It's definitely like I'll be honest. I don't know exactly what your take will be. My feeling, just to give you a general overview, is I just think the United States shouldn't be involved. I think that the meddling that the United States did helped exacerbate the situation in the first place. I certainly have no love for Russia, so I hope that there's a peaceful resolution that's able to come there as well. But but I would certainly be willing to talk to you about it and like go all through it for sure.
Yeah, and that was my view for many years. I was very, I really got attached to Ron Paul when I first found out who he was, and now let's just say I've started to see the issues with being an isolationist. I'll email you. My email is fightsporttalk@outlook.com. So anyway,
excellent. I'll know to look out for it. Yes.
Thank you, man. Like I've always been politically minded, and fast forward or rewind back to 2018 during the first Trump term, I probably would have started a conservative YouTube channel, and probably been one of these people who got banned. But life is you went that direction, I didn't. Life's all about timing, and but I've always been very politically minded. Like nowadays, I've confronted politicians in my home country and asked them very conservative questions, which they don't like. And now I go to some of these pro-Palestine marches to see how many of them support Iran. And so the reason why I mentioned this when I called in, and again, thanks for having me on, is that I think, I've gone sort of the QAnon meme tier route of the alternative movement. I don't think Netanyahu wants the war to stop, personally speaking. I think when he holds up a map of Greater Israel, I think he means it. So Trump speaking about this now, Netanyahu tends to get whatever he wants. That's typically been the way things go. So Trump speaking openly about this is quite interesting. And Trump did strike some kind of peace deal ceasefire earlier this year when he came in, and Netanyahu and Israel violated that almost immediately. And all Trump managed to do was get some kind of peace talks with the Houthis, but the Houthis were still going all in on the IDF. So I do think it's very interesting. Like, I don't know if this has happened where a peace deal has come up and you've got the president of the United States openly saying, we want this, no more war, ceasefire now, back off, both parties back off. And also, this does need to be noted, I do think Netanyahu, now this guy seems to have 9 lives when it comes to politics, so I could eat my words, but I do think his political life is on the line because he was wanted for corruption charges going back to 2019 when he was indicted, and talking about how corrupt politics are, he was able to relinquish all positions except his prime minister role. So this guy's been able to stay in power despite having corruption charges. And just again, I'll make this very brief for your audience. A prime minister who was only in power for a short amount of time, Ehud Olmert, who actually did offer a 2-state solution to the Palestinians, he actually went to jail for corruption charges, but Netanyahu's managed to stay out of there. And with this ICC situation, I do think Netanyahu could potentially spend the rest of his life in jail if everything wraps up. So, and on top of
I'll just be clear with you. I don't trust the ICC, and I think I have no love for Netanyahu, but there's a bunch of pieces of shit that'll cover up war criminals and people that are terrible people in Palestine and Hamas. I don't see the ICC actually interring someone for war crimes like that. It's not going to happen. If that started to happen, what you would see, like the next clamoring would be Donald Trump 4 years from now will be in front of the ICC. I guarantee fucking to you. The people that run that shit are absolute corrupt left-wing sack of shit globalist scumbags. So I wouldn't put any stock in that. I don't know. That's just my feelings on the ICC and other organizations like that. So,
100%. And I again, I've always been down the conspiratard route. So I will say this: I've learned that yes, the world is a stage, but it doesn't mean that leaders don't go to jail. Like we had Bolsonaro, who was recently indicted, and he probably is going to go to jail. Marine Le Pen she was banned. Now, I don't know if that's been lifted, but she's found herself in trouble. And these ICC, you just mentioned these left-wing globalist leaders or members, they've recently threatened Giorgia Meloni for supporting Netanyahu, which is absolutely ridiculous. And Meloni is kind of like the lone wolf at the moment in Europe, who's conservative, and I'd like her to be more right wing, but given the crazy situation the EU and Europe is in general, I definitely think there's some left wingers who don't want her there. So yeah, I agree with you. The ICC is, you can't trust these guys. And if we do chat on your show about Ukraine, what I've noticed is that it was actually South Africa who brought this up, who were able to get the ICC to investigate Netanyahu. And South Africa is a big supporter of Russia, but that's for another day. So I guess just on top of that, Netanyahu, his own people they've been protesting him since 2019, and there have been more protests actually covered by Zionist media members in Israel about him not doing everything he could to get the hostages back. And there's also going to be the question, which again could end his life, metaphorically speaking. How did he let October 7th happen when they knew about it? So I think so this is a long way, and I hope I didn't go on too much of a tangent. I'm surprised this is popping up. I do think it's quite interesting, and this is not something Netanyahu wants, and something which could potentially mean what we've never seen, which is a ceasefire in the Middle East when war has never been more graphic, really, probably since the Yom Kippur War, or we'd have to go back a few decades to know when the last time Israel was in this much of a firefight with Middle Eastern countries. So, yeah, it's very interesting. I mean, you've even got left wingers who never want to praise Trump. These guys will criticize Trump every time somebody slips on a banana peel, but even they are saying, "Hey, Trump is doing something we haven't seen for a while."
Well, we'll see. I think that'll quickly change, at least in the United States. They'll find a way to make it sound bad for Trump.
for
But,
sure.
I got to be honest. The whole thing, like, listen, I want wars to stop. Uh, I could bring someone on from the exact opposite perspective of you to talk about how Netanyahu's not the best guy in the world, but he's getting railroaded and it's all bullshit. And this is all just a big fucking PR campaign by a bunch of Islamists that a bunch of Western haters are going for to smear Israel more and more. I just don't give a fuck. I'll be honest. I want the war to stop. It's going to be when we talk about Ukraine. Like I'm not saying this to be flippant, but there are so many issues going on in my country that I think that being a non-interventionist is the way to go. I'm happy to talk about that, but I have nothing to add, really. I hope that this peaceful resolution works out. Your obvious hatred for Netanyahu aside, more power to you. I assume Netanyahu is a piece of shit, just like almost every world leader in the Arab world and in the Middle East. But I don't really have much to add, I guess.
Well, 100%, and I guess I'll just say I want to, again, my new channel is very, very new, so almost nobody's paid attention to it, but I've been in contact with Iranians and other analysts, and I would love to know from them, because they're the ones who analyze this on a greater level, that the fact that so many Americans don't want to give foreign aid to these countries who are under attack, like Israel, like Ukraine, because look what's going on in the look what's going on in America. Like it will go down as well. Not so.
Well, like if you don't like Israel, like the United States tells us we need to fund Israel. Our leaders say we need to fund Israel, right? Do you think that's a good idea?
I used to say no. Now my opinion has changed a little bit. But if I could just add one thing. Funding, with obviously not mindless funding, needs to be nuanced. But most of all, what I was going to mention, the fact that you had Congress people like Lauren Boebert and Matt Gaetz saying, this was before Trump got in the second time. This was like 23 or something, or maybe 24. You had Gaetz and Boebert and Marjorie Taylor Greene and a few others standing up in Congress saying, look, we'll give aid to Israel and Ukraine, but can you give us a secure border? And the answer from Mike Johnson, the useless Speaker of the House, is that no, we'll give nothing to the border. We'll give all the money to these other guys. So and this was all from Joe Biden, the open border policy. So I completely agree that the system is so corrupt, it's terrible, and I feel completely for you guys in America who are saying, "Look, can we?" I
don't trust these people running things. So I don't want one dime to go to Ukraine. I don't want one dime to go to Russia. I don't want one dime going to Palestine. I don't want one dime going to Israel. I don't give a shit. And to the extent that interventionism is necessary, I think that only applies in a world where you have competent and benevolent leaders. We have neither. The people that run our show consistently with their foreign policy decisions make the situation worse. We were told that we had to go into Libya because there was an ongoing genocide about to occur. Gaddafi told us over and over again, these aren't legitimate people in my country. These are outside Islamists. Things are going to get way worse if you back them. We backed them. And now Libya's gone from one of the best sub-Saharan African countries to an open-air slave market. Christians are now being crucified in Syria. Our meddling in places like Ukraine have led to a war there that's been disastrous from the people of Ukraine. We funded Israel, which has led to sort of disastrous policies that people don't like in Israel. Then we send millions of dollars in aid to Palestine that goes to warlords and to Hamas that makes those situations constantly perpetuate. So, the idea that it's like these nuanced discussions of, but let me explain, what's going on with this history of Bibi Netanyahu. I'm just not interested at all. I don't give a shit. I'm not saying you're wrong. I just literally don't care, because from my perspective, it's just like, we shouldn't be involved. We no longer have competent or benevolent leaders in order to make these decisions. The time for the United States being the world police is over. When we were the world police, it was beneficial to the people of the United States. It no longer is. It does not benefit me one iota to send $1 to Israel whatsoever. If Israel's made enough enemies through Netanyahu that they will be wiped off the face of the earth by Arabs, so be it. If Israel's more powerful than these Arabs, like in Palestine, and they could wipe them off the face of the earth, so be it. Our goal should be to have a peaceful resolution. I do not give a fuck to get involved through militaristic means or through economic means in any of them. I feel the same about Ukraine, Russia. And that's basically it in a nutshell for me. And so I've had people on all sides of all of these issues. I've had pro-Russian people tell me why I should be on Russia's side. Don't agree with them. I've had pro-Ukrainian people tell me why it's important to send all this money and aid to Ukraine. I don't agree with them. I've had pro-Palestine people tell me why I need to be pro-Palestine and fuck Bibi Netanyahu and fuck Israel. I don't agree with them. I've had pro-Israel people tell me how I need to be pro-Netanyahu and pro-Israel. I don't agree with them. And that's in a nutshell what I think about all of this. And I'm not saying you're wrong. You may 100% be right. I just don't give a shit. It'd be the equivalent of like if I'm, driving a car every day and you're talking to me about the importance of maintenance on horse and buggies, and it's like you could absolutely be right. I don't know. It's not relevant to my life. I guess is ultimately my position on it.
Yeah, man.
But I hope that peace breaks out. That I do hope.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I guess really the only thing to say, because the deal we're talking about it being signed, but like you said, that can be broken in a second. And
yeah,
and Netanyahu breaks these peace deals for a reason, because, like I said, and I take what you said about the ICC very seriously. But there is a very good chance in Israel alone he could finally go to jail if the war finishes. So
you think he would be jailed in Israel, not by the ICC, but by Israel itself?
Because he was brought up on corruption charges, yes, and a prime minister.
That's different than the ICC. Just to be clear, that's different. I mean, that could be that the government of Israel itself decides to prosecute Netanyahu, possibly.
Yeah,
I don't know. I know nothing about those corruption charges, but I was just speaking to the ICC in general.
Yeah. Well, when I knew very little. I was just in university, and I was in my mid-20s at the time. In 2019, when he was indicted, I didn't know this at the time, but one of the prime ministers who was in Israel for a short time, he actually got indicted on similar charges, and he actually went to jail, and he actually did offer a two-state solution to the Palestinians, which would have been really good, but again, it was rejected. But yeah, I understand exactly what you're saying. I appreciate you having me on to.
No problem. Go ahead, shout out your channel, man. Certainly, because I think there's a portion of my audience that's very interested in these sort of topics. And I think that I woefully underserved that portion of the audience. So go ahead and shout out your channel, man.
Yeah, well, Fight Sport Talk, I cover combat sports and getting back into it. And I've also started another channel specifically talking about Ukraine and Russia, but also the greater picture here, which, again, very small. And it's so very small, almost unnoticeable. But if I could just ask you one thing, Rob. Thanks, man. Appreciate that a lot.
No problem.
Because again, I've been through the whole red pill, like, yeah, we're going to smash the establishment sort of thing during the first Trump term, and now where Trump has certainly come out. I wish Trump came out this way in his first term, but with I recently saw Nick Fuentes on Dave Smith's channel. I'm not a big fan of those guys, but him saying again that they're deporting less than 1,000 people a day or a month. Just in general, what Trump's doing, like obviously cutting wokeness, ending like these, ending DEI, ending the trans agenda, really cracking down on that. Excellent. But in terms of the deportations, which is the big thing, do you just look at this and say, okay, it's okay, but it could be a lot better?
Yes. Yep. That's exactly how I look at it. Yep. And if they wanted to get serious about it, they would go after the people in the United States that are intentionally hiring illegals and throw their ass in prison. And they're not going to do that. So it's clear that they're not serious. They did a good job securing the border. It's good to deport as many people as possible. They're certainly doing better than the previous administration. Hell, just not deporting anyone, but stopping the border from being open would be better. They're deporting people, which is okay. They could be doing much, 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 much better. I'd give them like a C- on how many people they're deporting.
Well, that was actually going to be my question, Rob. Again, appreciate you having me on, because it was very quickly, like in the first Trump term, when I finally took the binders off and started saying, okay, we got to get realistic here. I was following Ann Coulter, who was the most vocal critic of Trump in the first term, and with this, and she was right about a lot of things, and because for these big channels like PBD and InfoWars, specifically Alex Jones, it would not have been the popular thing to come out publicly against Trump. A lot of them didn't do it. But in the second term, do they just not have enough people in ICE, or or do you think it's because there is a general concern of starting? Do you think the right wing, like, even though they've got Stephen Miller in charge of this, do you think they genuinely are concerned about civil war breaking out? So they're saying, okay,
no, I don't think that's it. I don't think that, if anything, you could say that they're not really concerned about deporting these people and it was a false promise. I would say that it's partially that they're not willing to go as far as they claimed that they would go. And I think it's partially because they don't have the infrastructure in these agencies to do it. But I think zero part of the calculus is that Stephen Miller and Donald Trump are worried that civil war will break out. I don't think that's it at all.
Right. Because I think a lot of people, sorry.
No, that's fine. Go ahead.
Well, just mind you, again, I've never lived in America in my entire life, so I'm talking as a layman, and it's my general opinion is that I think a lot of people are looking at Trump and say, well, regardless of what Trump is, this is the end of the road for him. Like, he's going to be in his 80s when he makes it to the end of the term. So that is what it is, and therefore we have to move on. We have to look at what's next. So I think now people will be a lot less they'll be a lot less nervous to criticize Trump, and it's definitely not. We would like him to be more extreme, but I'm genuinely interested. Well, how much further can he go? And what you just said about how you mentioned.
I don't think that. Look, yes, the left will engage in violence. That's absolutely certain. I don't think that Trump's like that's what's withholding us from doing this. So I don't believe that. I mean, I guess it theoretically could be the case, but I don't believe it. So I think that it's more likely that Trump's wealthy business donors are like, hey, we need a lot of these illegals. You made this promise, but can't we just get out the bed, hombres? I think that's more likely what's going on. And I think Trump's already signaled to that when he said, I've talked to a lot of farmers and maybe we're deporting too many people that work on these farms, etc. I don't think that he's just secretly like, fuck, I want to deport these people, but I'm afraid of civil war. I don't think that's what's going on. So
right.
That's my opinion. Because he would be able, if that was really the case, then they would just start arresting people at places like Tyson Chicken and say, well, the left ain't going to have a problem with that. And these people are importing illegals, so there ain't going to be civil war over arresting some, wealthy business owners that are exploiting cheap illegal labor. So again, I'm not definitively saying, but you're the first person I've heard suggest that, and I haven't heard any sort of thing that would lead me to believe in that direction. Certainly, there is. Go ahead.
Well, yeah, I didn't know the answer. I mean, Trump seems so tame in his first term, and he also seemed too beholden to doing what Israel wanted, that he just didn't really seem to care, and he came out firing when he first got into power. But again, as soon as I heard people such as yourself, such as Lily Gaddis, such as Megyn Kelly talking about how Nick Fuentes talking about how the deportations aren't enough. I'm like, well, why is there? This is the time you come out, and yeah, I mean, it's an interest. Too many channels, and I specifically found this with Officer Tatum, who recently interviewed Netanyahu and gave a very embarrassing interview. Too many of these big channels, which is why I always tune into yours, is that they're following this in. They're not even really discussing the nuance. They're just talking about what they want to be happening. And the thing is, which is why I think there's a chance that, we can hopefully before this digital. By the way, I think they're going to fail with digital ID. They didn't succeed.
Hey, I got to get going, man. I really do. I'm so sorry to cut you off short, but I was supposed to be grifting for money like 35 minutes ago. I thought it was going to be like a 3-minute call. So we've been going for about 30 minutes here, but I'll be happy. Send me an email. We can talk at great length about something at some point surrounding Ukraine and stuff. So I do appreciate it, man. I really do. So thank you so much,
I appreciate
man.
you having me on.
Yeah, no problem. You have a good one, man. All right. So no, I appreciate people calling in and giving me their time. I think it's great, but I did kind of think the direction things were going. It's like, hey, it's 1:00. I could do like this sort of grifting thing. I was like, we get one more call in real quick. Uh, so not his fault that I was intending to do some other stuff, but no, it was a good call, and I appreciate it. You know, as I said, I've said over and over again, I just have almost no interest in the Israel-Palestine shit. You know, interesting juxtaposition of beliefs there, though. Like, Trump's too beholden to Netanyahu, but we need to keep sending money to Israel. Most people would say, yeah, why the fuck are we sending money to Israel? We're bending the knee to Netanyahu. But he seems to be like, no, we need to keep sending money to Israel, but just not Netanyahu? I don't know. I mean, maybe if we have more time, we could look into exactly what that means. I would think if you think that Israel is ran by a corrupt dictator that should be jailed, that you would say we should probably stop sending them money. I don't know. Anyways, it was fun. It was a good call. And hopefully he will send me that email and we can set up a whole 2-hour show and we can talk about all this stuff. I think that would be fantastic. So, anyways, we're doing very good with our goal here. This would have been more effective if I did it 40 minutes ago. But oh my goodness, what? We're only at 36% of the goal. What happened? Oh shit! Oh my goodness, tragic. What the heck? My goodness, what happened? But we'll play some whip songs. We'll, all that good stuff. But here is Fight Sports Talks channel one more time to get that out there. So, man, my goodness. Now let's see. Every $20 donation and $50 donation, I owe whip song. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 regulars, 2 from the whip wheel. So, first thing to say is, to those that follow me for serious political discussion, that'll be it for the night. Now we're just gonna grift, and I'm gonna try to squeeze money out of my audience like this. Oh, that's the plan for the rest of the evening. So, who could begrudge you if you leave? If you do leave before you go, though, should be doing a noon stream tomorrow, Eastern time, another call-in show. And then, 10 p.m. Eastern, I'll be doing my regular show. Plan is, I will be covering the... Oh, okay. I got it for Eclipse. Gotcha. I will be covering the Jake Rattlesnake debate that he had tonight. Ty Snotty, who called in, he nails it. Says you want the super chats too much. What's the right amount to want super chats? I wonder. I don't know. Some would say I want the super chats too little if I listen to my mods. So interesting. Anyways, so as I gear up the things I'm supposed to do, remember, $20 donation will get you a whip song. $50 donation gets you spin of the wheel to see what song we play. So we'll stay up for a while.
Where there's a whip, there's a way. Where there's a whip, there's a way. Where there's a whip, we don't want to go to war today. But the Lord of the Lashes says, nay, nay, nay. We're gonna march all day, all day, all day. Where there's a whip, there's a way. 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 Left, right, left, right, left. Where there's a whip, there's a way. Left, right. A crack on the back says we're gonna fight. We're gonna march all day and night and more. For we are the slaves of the Dark Lord's
That's what's this? Minus $483.53. Take it or leave it. I don't know. What do you mean? I'll take it. Not the minus, the positive. I don't know. But nonetheless, for our friend Eclipse, who generously donated $100. Gregorian Whip Song.
We don't wanna go to war today, but the Lord of the light says nay, nay, nay. We're gonna march all day, all day, all day. There's a way, there's a
For our good friend Eclipse. I hope you enjoyed it, my friend. Always a pleasure. Now, I do apologize. I know we've lost 40 people. Totally get it. Totally get it. But I do owe people these whip songs or whatever. Like I said, I will be back tomorrow. But what can...
Where there's a whip, there's a way. Where there's a whip, there's a way. Where there's a whip. We don't want to go to war today, but the Lord of the lashes says nay, nay, nay. We're gonna march all day, all day, all day. Where there's a whip, there's a way. 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 Left, right, left, right, left. Where there's a whip, there's a way. Left, right. A crack on the back says we're gonna fight. We're gonna march all day and night and more. For we are the slaves of the dark Lord's golden.
Yes, Andrew would be talking over the song. Not my style. We let the song speak for itself. All right. We got another one of these damn things. Here we go. Oh, don't be something long. Something short, please. Okay. 1920 scat music. Right. I think this one's quick.
Well, there's a whip, there's a way.
Thought this was shorter. Holy cow, I thought that was one of the short ones. Piss! Flavius, thank you so much, $20 over on Rumble. Says, are we doing whip songs tonight? I haven't decided yet. I think that...
Where there's a whip, there's a way. Where there's a whip, there's a way. Where there's a whip. We don't want to go to war today, but the Lord of the Lashes says, nay, nay, nay. We're gonna march all day, all day, all day. Where there's a whip, there's a way. 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 Left, right, left, right, left. Where there's a whip, there's a way. Left, right. A crack on the back says we're gonna fight. We're gonna march all day and night and more. For we are the slaves of the dark Lord's sword.
All right, we're about done with this. One more of these damn wheel songs, then I could be done. Please, 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 please be something short. Come on. Calypso. I don't even remember at this point. This shit is gone to the point where it's just a complete and total annoyance to me. But here we go. Light at the end of the tunnel.
Where there's a whip, there's a way. Where there's a whip, there's a way. We don't want to go to war today, but the Lord of the Lashes says, nay, nay, nay. We're gonna march all day, all day, all day. Where there's a whip, there's a way. 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 Right, left, left. Where there's a whip, there's a way.
drum solo. Nice.
Where there's a whip, there's a way. Where there's a whip, there's a way. Where there's a whip, there's a way. Left, right, left. Where there's a whip, there's a way. Where there's a whip, there's a way. How's it still going? Left, right. Wait, left, right.
Yay! No. That's it. All right, great, done. Well, we officially lost 100 viewers. We did it. We did it. But we made it through the damn whip songs. Oh, my goodness. We did it. I'm glad everyone's pleased. We finished whip songs. Good stuff. Now I'll remind you, if someone donates $200, that ends the whip songs for the night. So if someone's as annoyed as me, my preferred genre, whatever the shortest one is, the regular one. It's only 1 minute. It's 56 seconds. That's my favorite one. I don't know. I thought the 8-bit one was insane and weird. Personally, I like the K-pop one just because I actually translated the lyrics. It's not a very good song, but I don't know. I don't know. How much to end the whip song permanently? That's a great question. That's a great question. Thank you. When you're rich, you'll give me money. That's not nothing. Oh, it's my favorite genre of music in general. It waffles. Probably like old classic country, but I also like classic rock as well. So I'm a big like Hank Williams Jr. fan. Waylon, Merle Haggard, folks of that nature. David Allan Coe. I also like a lot of classic rock. I was a big metal fan growing up. Used to go to Ozfest every year. Enjoyed. I even liked death metal. 6 Feet Under was the second show I ever went to. First show I ever went to was Dead Kennedys. So like old classic punk. But I like a lot of different genres of music. Some of my favorite bands include The Band, which is a fantastic rock band. I am a big fan of $100,000. No more whip songs ever. I win both ways. I like Ween, one of my favorite bands. Yeah, what is Ween? I don't know. They're great. No, $100,000 will end the whip song forever, unless someone matches the $100,000. That sounds good to me. That's nice and fair. We'll put that in the list. Yeah, $100,000 would end the whip song. We'll find something else to do. I'm getting tired tonight. What do you guys think? I think it's been a pretty successful day. $1 million. Okay. Yeah, right. The classic rock started playing Metallica. We're old people. We're getting old, folks. Crazy. Absolute insanity. Now, the plan this fine evening will be to raid. Oh. My moderator, EOD. He'll be doing some Dungeons and Dragons shenanigans. But it's been a pretty good day. You beat day shift. We didn't reach our goal of $1,357. We didn't do that. We failed there. But my failure. It's not your failure. It's my failure. Tomorrow we'll be covering Jake Rattlesnake's debate. That should be fun. I don't know what I got going on Friday. Not doing the day shift stuff, but then we'll do a stream night shift. Maybe I'll jump on Speakeasy's panel. Warhammer Fantasy End Times. I don't know much about Warhammer. I did play the Rogue Trader Warhammer game. I played a little bit of it. I'm sort of confused. It's tough to jump into a world like that you know. It's definitely a unique setting. I think it's neat. Yeah, someone sent $900 real quick here. You know, I always forget, if you do want to send big sums of money, I'll take it. I am a capitalist. And the best way to do that would probably be PayPal at robnoerr, buymeacoffee.com/robnoerr, or even easier, Cash App, $robnoerr. Do whatever you like, man. Yeah, give them the business over there. I like Speakeasy. So maybe we'll hop on there Friday night. Maybe that'll be the plan of action. Of course, anything could change if there's like a big news cycle or anything of that nature. Maybe we'll do just 4 more hours of Hassan abusing his dog. The worst video I saw of the whole thing, believe it or not, wasn't even the shock. It was someone fast forwarded, and that dog doesn't move for like 4.5 hours. The one time it moves, it ends up probably getting shocked by Hassan. Which is fucking sad, man. That poor dog stuck there in a little rectangle for fucking 4.5 hours. Shitty, man. Is Buy Me a Coffee my clip videos? Nope. It's just a place to donate money. So I'm probably going to let you all go tonight and maybe get some early sleep. For me, early. 2 a.m. is early for me. You guys are incredible. I can't thank you enough. From the bottom of my heart. Really, I mean that. It's amazing how generous you are. And the growth we've had on the channel is phenomenal. One of these days, we'll do some sort of audience questioning of the direction you would like to see the channel go. Do you want more call-in shows? Do you want more debates? Do you want more just me talking type shows? And I'll try to get a like good feel for what the audience wants, because, you know, I like it. I like pretty much all of them. My favorite, honestly, is like a 1-on-1 or a 2-on-2 debate. That's what I have the most fun doing. For me, the ideal show was, and I'll have to reach out. I know Project VO Pod, Jake from over there, he was helping with some stuff. Maybe I'm going to find someone else to help me with some sort of production and moderator duties. And I don't know. I'll have to contact my man Spiro or some other people. Maybe Are We Not Men? As people like that, and we'll see what we can come up with. But I loved the show where I was doing where we just bring on someone to debate me for 2 hours. I have no idea who it is. I have no idea what the topic is. They set it all up with a moderator or with someone behind the scenes. That moderator makes sure it's a topic that I'll at least have something to say about. I love that. We did that once, and I enjoyed it for 2 reasons. One, because I love debating, and I love the challenge of giving my opponent sort of an advantage. But second, because then I don't have to do any prep work, baby, because I can't, because I don't even know what the topic is. So that shit's good for me. That's exactly what I want to do. We're going to get the TikTok invasions up and running too. Yeah, let's do a 15K sub party. A couple other things that are coming up. I am going to do a 24-hour stream, probably going into the election here in November. So we'll see if we can get a bunch of guests on. I don't know. I say that and then shit with DebateCon and stuff. I probably won't get around to that. I'll save the 24-hour stream until after the new year. But we are going to do a 24-hour show, and we'll set a ridiculous goal of money to raise, like $5,000 or some shit like that. So we'll get something done like that. But there are projects that I'm working on behind the scenes, both for myself and for the Crucible that I think are going to be very entertaining and that the audience is going to like. So I'm really looking forward to it. But I do thank you all for your generous support. Of course, you can continue to throw more money at me as I'm going to end the show here. We're going to raid over to one of my mods, EOD, great dude. Probably doing a Dungeons and Dragons stream. So if that's not your cup of tea, totally understand. Now, my wife doesn't like cooking stream with my wife now. My wife doesn't like to be on cam. So I don't think that'll be happening. So anyways, it's been a fun night. I want to thank all of my moderators, even EOD who's not here. Are We Not Men? Achilles, Naughty Germ, Sense Forehead, everyone else. We added some mods, so thank you to you all. But primarily, Are We Not Men, EOD, and Achilles really take the bulk of the work. So thank all. Even EOD, off doing his Dungeons and Dragon things. So thank you to them. Thank you to Spiro, who helps you out with tech. Thank you to my fantastic editor, Black Elk, really great dude. Thank you so much to everyone over who called in tonight. Really appreciate it. Even if I sounded rushed there at the end, I didn't mean anything by it, and I thought that guy had some interesting things to say. So sorry, I really didn't mean anything by it. I was just like, oh shit, I owe these whip songs. Maybe I'll get to bed early. We ended up staying way later. I thought it'd be a 5-minute call, and it ended up being like a 35-minute one. But anywho, by the way, where's the super chats? I thought someone was surely going to be like, I was just messing with you, Rob. Here's $200 at the end of the stream. I thought for sure. I was like, or at least $20 or 50 or 100 or 200 or 5,000, whatever. I thought for sure someone would send them in. But thank you to everyone who donates, chats, subs, thumbs up. You guys are the best. You really are. I really appreciate it. Thank you to the raiders that we had in tonight, particularly over on Rumble there. We were rated by We're Offended That You're Offended. That was the truck driver, Tyler, that called in. So thank you to him. All right. Enjoy this raid of EOD. I want you all to have a good one. And as always, let us not forget. There we go, Q-Tart. $2 says, here. It's 200 cents at the end of the stream. I'll take it. I'm a greedy man. I'll take your $2. Don't send money if you're super broke, Pat. Don't worry about it. You guys are the best. All right. So we always should remember, it feels weird. It still feels sort of weird, like having fun and celebrating to some extent. No matter what, anytime someone dies in your life, you're always like, I'll always, remember you. It's really weird with this assassination of Charlie Kirk to move on. So I hope in my little way, even if you just think about it just for the final minute of the show, when I show the outro video, really, I hope that we never forget that horrible assassination and the reaction that so many people had to it. And I hope that you took some good out of that, whether it be rededicating your life to going to church or to your family, or to understanding the importance of sort of winning these political battles. So, but thank you all so much. We'll see you all tomorrow around noon. And God bless Charlie Kirk and his family.
Only in America is it possible to say, you know what, I don't like the way the country is going, and to do something about it. Take that risk. Take that leap of faith. Stay involved. Trust God and act obediently. Romans 12:2 verse. That God will use all things for good for those who love him. It's bigger than you. I want you to remember that. It is bigger than you. It's bigger than me. You are here to make somebody else's life better, the pursuit of liberty and freedom. You know what gives me strength? The hundreds of thousands of you that say, Charlie, keep going.
1 Corinthians 5 and 15. So that's all pretty amazing evidence, not just intra-biblical evidence, but extra-biblical evidence that Jesus Christ was a real person, He lived a perfect life. He was crucified, died, and rose on the third day, and he is Lord and God of all.